Chapter 859. The Thousand Derivation Killing Formation and the Thousand Derivation Illusory Formation were the achievements of the Clear Sky Saint King after studying the formations of his predecessors. Together with his own knowledge, they were very powerful and complicated. Yi Shan had already studied them for some time, but he could only understand a little. After resting for a few days, Night Sorrow left Sky City and teleported to the Western Nether region. The Western Nether region had been attacked by the flames of war, but because they had retreated early, there was no battlefield here, so the losses were not serious. They had already recovered with the full support of the 9 regions. Next, Night Sorrow teleported to the spatial channel. There were 2 palaces at the spatial channel, and they were filled with patrol members. When they saw Night Sorrow, they all bowed. Nodding, Night Sorrow passed through the spatial channel. Chapter O, Section R, FD, CF. It was the same for the Profound Mysteries realm. There were also 2 palaces at the spatial channel, and the guards were led by Tianji Tower's Yao Yang. Greetings, young master. Yao Yang cupped his hands towards Night Sorrow. Senior is too courteous. I'll have to trouble you here, Night Sorrow returned Yao Yang's greeting. Next, Night Sorrow teleported to 3 Sun City, and then to a few other cities to take a look before teleporting to the Profound Level Imperial City. The guards of the Profound Mysteries Imperial City's teleportation formation surprised Night Sorrow. They were Night Moon's people, and the leader was Wind King Yilingfeng. When Night Moon's people saw Night Sorrow, they all bowed. It's a special time, so everyone has to work hard. Nodding, Night Sorrow walked on the streets of Profound Mysteries Imperial City, looking at the reconstruction situation. Yilingfeng followed behind Night Sorrow. At this time, the reconstruction of Profound Mysteries Imperial City had already reached a certain scale. Night Sorrow knew that without any interference, the construction of a city would be very fast. It's really rare to see you here, Commander. Lu Qin and Jun Xuanji, who were patrolling the streets, saw Night Sorrow. I'm just taking a casual stroll. This place is too chaotic, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Night Sorrow, who was wearing a simple white robe, walked on the street. When others saw him, they would think that he was the son of a rich family. No one would associate Night Sorrow with the commander of 2 worlds. Now you know how troublesome it is. If you had been gentler back then, the reconstruction wouldn't have been so troublesome, Jun Xuanji said as he looked at Night Sorrow. What did you say? Be polite to our young master. Yilingfeng, who was standing behind Night Sorrow, stepped forward. It's nothing. Uncle Lingfeng, you don't have to mind this. Night Sorrow extended his hand to stop Yilingfeng. Elder Jun, I respect you. In fact, I respect everyone in the Profound Mysteries realm. But our young master isn't just the pride of the 9 regions world. He's also Night Moon's faith. We can't tolerate others mocking him, said Yilingfeng. Jun Xuanji looked apologetically at Night Sorrow. After interacting with the people of the 9 regions world, he knew that there were some bottom lines that couldn't be touched. In front of the people of Night Moon, Night Sorrow was his reverse scale. It's nothing. Uncle Lingfeng, you can go ahead. I'll go take a look at the City Lord's mansion. Night Sorrow nodded to Yilingfeng. Yilingfeng cupped his hands at Night Sorrow and left to continue guarding the teleportation formation. Then, Jun Xuanji and Lu Qin led Night Sorrow to the City Lord's mansion. Inside the City Lord's mansion, Xian Wenxiu and granduncles were talking about the situation in the Profound Mysteries realm. Seeing that Night Sorrow had arrived, granduncles and Xian Wenxiu cupped their hands at Night Sorrow. Saint Xian is too courteous. Martial uncle granduncles, you've worked hard. Night Sorrow cupped his hands and sat down. Why did you want to come take a look? Asked granduncles as he brewed tea. I've been cultivating for a while, so I came out to relax. I also wanted to see martial uncle granduncles, said Night Sorrow. Don't worry about this. Saint Xian and Saint Shang are very supportive. Elder Jun is also very capable. There won't be any problems with rebuilding the Profound Mysteries realm, said granduncles. I was just casually walking around. I found that the war has greatly damaged the Profound Mysteries realm. The 9 regions world's major powers want to recruit disciples. They should lower their bottom line and give some people more opportunities, said Night Sorrow. Okay, I'll notify them later. Granduncles took out a pen and wrote it down. The war has caused some people to lose their homes. This is my fault. Here are some spirit stones. Marshal Uncle Granduncles, take them and see how you can help them. Night Sorrow took out a spatial ring and handed it to Granduncles. Commander, there won't be any problems with rebuilding the Profound Mysteries realm. You don't need to provide these resources, said Granduncles. How about this? Let's build a cultivator palace and take in some children from the 9 regions world and the Profound Mysteries realm who lack people to take care of them. Night Sorrow placed the spatial ring on the table. That's a good decision. I'll make arrangements for this. Lu Qin nodded. Night Sorrow nodded. Following this, he walked around the various cities with Lu Qin and Jun Xuanji. My heart hurts. I hope there won't be any more wars in the future. I'm going back. Night Sorrow was very emotional. Xuanji, I don't want anyone to hate Night Sorrow, Lu Qin said to Jun Xuanji after watching Night Sorrow leave. Jun Xuanji nodded. He knew what could be done and what could not be done. They could not do anything to harm Night Sorrow. Otherwise, the people of the 9 regions world would not accept it and would retaliate. At that time, who knew who would be the unlucky one? Night Sorrow walked around the Profound Mysteries realm before returning to the 9 regions world. When he arrived at the Qingtian region, Night Sorrow did not go to the Tianji Tower. Instead, he went directly to Vast Sea City. When he arrived at the border of the Realm Sea, he took Xueshi out of the Pagoda of Time. Following this, they took a flying ship and flew towards the island in the Realm Sea. It seems that the 9 regions world is stable this time. Now that we've started the war with the Netherworld, we've gained some strength, Xueshi said. I have to quickly become a saint. This is very important. I have to refine the Void Fate Pearl as soon as possible. At that time, I'll be able to fuse the Void Fiendish Space with the Void Fate Pearl. I'll be able to bring the Void Fiendish Space to the shattered region of the 9 regions world and completely suppress it. I'll be able to fuse the Void Fiendish Space with the 9 regions world, Night Sorrow said. You can't rush this. However, condensing your soul power into a core is a necessary step to become a saint, Xueshi said. Night Sorrow knew that condensing a God Pearl was not too far away. His soul power had already reached the limit of liquid state and could condense a God Pearl at any time. After arriving at the island in the Realm Sea, Night Sorrow found that the spatial storms had weakened a lot. After putting Xueshi into the Pagoda of Time, Night Sorrow headed towards Vast Sky City. The current Night Sorrow's strength was vastly different from when he had been a 4th level Venerate. It took him more than an hour to reach Clear Sky City after only resting once. Looking at the dilapidated Vast Sky City, Night Sorrow felt a little emotional. He had just experienced a war and the 9 regions world had won. Vast Sky City's dilapidated state told him of the humiliation of defeat. Night Sorrow flew for a while and found that it was different from before. There was a defensive formation between the spatial storms and the 9 regions origin shield. Looking at it, Night Sorrow found that the formations were the 1000 derivation illusory formation and the 1000 derivation killing formation. Chapter 860. The UD network is free of charge for 4 years. It was brimming with vitality. Yishang felt as if the 9-realm origin source barrier was full of vitality. Night Sorrow passed through the 9 regions essence barrier and headed for the Heaven Sealing Palace. Night Sorrow had just arrived in front of the Heaven Sealing Palace when the 9 regions essence energy appeared. You're here. Night Sorrow nodded at the 9 regions essence energy. The 9 regions essence energy just went through a war with the Profound Mysteries realm. After the war ended, I came to take a look. I know you've won because I've also gained some benefits. I've also received some blessings from the Heavenly Tao. Now that I see you, I know that you've contributed greatly in this battle. The 9 realms origin energy communicated with Night Sorrow. You can even know that? Night Sorrow was a bit puzzled. Your karmic energy is very deep. You already have 3 feet of karmic light. It should be said that you played a huge role in this war, said the 9 regions' essence energy. Night Sorrow was also very puzzled. He didn't feel that way himself. Your soul avatar should be able to reach greater mastery in a bit more time. At that time, you don't need to come over. You can talk to the main body if you need anything, said the 9 regions' essence energy. I came to see if this place is safe. The 9 regions' essence barrier can't have any problems, said Night Sorrow. There are some problems. There are spatial soul-devouring beasts below Clear Sky City. If they get close, they will devour the 9 regions' essence energy. That's one of their trump cards against our 9 regions world, said the 9 regions' essence energy to Night Sorrow. Then what do you need me to do? Asked Night Sorrow. Set up a formation. Go to the bottom of Clear Sky City and set up a formation to prevent the spatial soul-devouring beasts from attacking Clear Sky City, said the 9 regions' essence energy to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. I'll go as soon as I can. After conversing with the 9 regions' essence energy for a while, Night Sorrow left Clear Sky City and flew toward the island in the Realm Sea. After arriving at the island in the Realm Sea, Night Sorrow continued flying towards Vast Sea City. After arriving at the Grand Clarity Domain, Night Sorrow went directly to the most majestic palace in the Grand Clarity Domain. That was the most respected place in the 9 domain world, the commander's residence. Upon seeing Night Sorrow's arrival, the guards in front of the hall bowed in greeting. They had all participated in the battle against the Profound Mysteries realm, so they recognized Night Sorrow. When they reached the main hall, Yi Shang saw Yun Tianlong, who was overseeing this place. Commander, it's rare for you to come. Yun Tianlong greeted him with a smile. In terms of seniority, Yun Tianlong was the elder. However, in terms of strength, there was a big gap between him and Night Sorrow. In terms of status and reputation, the gap was even bigger. There are indeed some matters. Send someone to inform the commander's residence to gather here tomorrow. I have something to say, said Night Sorrow. Yun Tianlong nodded. He knew that something was about to happen. After giving some instructions, Night Sorrow left the commander's residence and returned to Sky City. After cultivating for a day, Night Sorrow returned to the commander's residence. Everyone there was gathered. It could be said that the upper echelons of the 9 domain world and the Profound Mysteries realm were all present. Night Sorrow walked to the empty main seat and sat down. Today, I've called everyone here because I have a decision. I've decided to conquer the Supreme River Domain. This is related to the stability and future of the 9 domain world. Night Sorrow then explained the reason. Spatial soul-devouring beast? So that's what it's used for. Do you have a plan? Asked Xiaolanjun. This time, we have no choice but to fight. The plan is for us to enter through the spatial channel in the Eastern Profound Domain. There's spatial suppression there, so don't worry. I'll handle it, said Night Sorrow. Then you can arrange the deployment, said Long Xiansheng. The reconstruction of the Profound Mysteries realm and the Western Nether region can't be stopped. Every time we fight, it's to ensure that our family and compatriots can live stable lives. That's the foundation. Also, gather more people. In 7 days, I want to see a group that can fight in Eastern Profound City. I want elites, said Night Sorrow. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, all the members of the commander's residence stood up and cupped their fists. After giving the order, Night Sorrow left the commander's residence and returned to Sky City. Since he had given the order, there would naturally be people to carry it out. After returning to the lake, Night Sorrow began to cultivate a spatial crack. After a while, Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing arrived. Father, congratulations. Night Sorrow cupped his fists at Yi Wuyo. At this time, Yi Wuyo was already a saint. It's nothing. I was already a quasi-sage a while ago. I just made a breakthrough in my true qi cultivation. It wasn't difficult. But you, on the other hand, saints and sovereigns are 2 completely different realms, said Yi Wuyo. It won't be too long. There's no need to rush, said Night Sorrow with a smile. Alright, I don't have to worry about you here. Is it good to drink? Said Yi Wuyo after looking at Yu Qing. Naturally. Yu Qing nodded. Knight Sorrow and his parents drank and chatted. They talked about the upcoming battle. Son, you're going to rise in the war. After the battle with the profound mysteries realm, you already have a meter of light of virtue behind your head, said Yi Wuyo. Knight Sorrow scratched the back of his head. Father, the 9 regions origin energy also said that I have a light of virtue. Why can't I sense it? If you don't have a special feeling, you won't be able to sense it. But it really does exist. According to the ancient records, people with great virtue have their words enforced. If they say that the river flows in reverse, it will flow in reverse, explained Yi Wuyo to Knight Sorrow. Enforced with words? That's amazing. Knight Sorrow was a bit surprised. Of course it's amazing. That's called the great sage of virtue. Even if he's a weak scholar, even if he doesn't have any cultivation, as long as he has virtue and the principles of the heavenly Tao, he can enforce his words. But this kind of virtue is very difficult to obtain. You have to contribute to the world and benefit an entire race, said Yi Wuyo. After drinking a jar of wine with his parents, Knight Sorrow continued cultivating. He was working very hard, and his true energy was slowly rising. The myriad Tao tome had also reached the peak of the 7th tier of the spirit refinement realm. Knight Sorrow calculated the time and entered the 70th floor of the pagoda. He wanted to reach the 8th tier of the spirit refinement realm before he entered the supreme river space. 2 days in the pagoda was 1 day in the outside world. Knight Sorrow raised the myriad Tao tome's cultivation base to the 8th tier of the spirit refinement realm. Then he used it to strengthen his body. Only then did he reach the 60th floor of the pagoda. Your blood energy is circulating around your body, and your essence energy is soaring. Knight Sorrow, I can't describe your body. It should be in a state where no evil can invade you. Xueshi was shocked to see Knight Sorrow. Is it that obvious? Asked Knight Sorrow. I don't know why, but after returning from the profound mysteries realm, I felt a pressure coming from you. Now that your blood energy has stimulated it, it's even stronger, said Xueshi. Chapter 861. G title equals this chapter is what's the point of this? Honor all the readers. What's the point of this? Okay, I'll listen to your arrangements. Xueshi nodded. Knight Sorrow nodded and brought Xueshi out of the spacetime pagoda. After exiting the spacetime pagoda and getting onto the wooden boat, Xueshi went to make tea. Knight Sorrow stretched his body. As he moved his body, explosive sounds came from his body. It wasn't just the sound of bones and joints, but also the sound of blood flowing. It was like pearls falling onto a plate. After drinking a cup of tea, Knight Sorrow walked around the martial arts practice field. As Knight Sorrow clapped his hands, the members of the god-slaying team gathered. However, no one spoke. They didn't dare to speak because Knight Sorrow stood there like a mountain. Everyone is doing well. Liyue, how are the resources? Knight Sorrow looked at Nan Liyue and asked. There are no problems. Nan Liyue stood up and bowed. This is my friend Xueshi, a 6-star saint. She will guide everyone's cultivation in the future. She is definitely someone you can trust. Also, get ready to fight in 3 days. Knight Sorrow left the martial arts practice field after giving his instructions. What's going on? Why do I feel so pressured? Xuefei wiped the sweat off his forehead and said. I don't know. I don't dare to breathe too loudly either. Xuejian said. This is the aura of a superior. This is the pressure of an expert. If we don't work hard in cultivation, we won't even dare to breathe loudly in front of the captain. Ling Long said. Read novels for free forever. That's right. What kind of people does the captain come into contact with? They are all saints, and there are even peak saints. The saints all carry out the captain's orders. How can they not be powerful? Yun Huang said. Work hard. Your foundations aren't bad. It won't be too difficult for you to achieve success in the future. I will come over every day. If you have any questions about cultivation, you can ask me. Shueshi said. After returning to the mansion, Knight Sorrow and his parents drank tea and chatted. This was the most relaxed time for Knight Sorrow. After resting for 2 days, Knight Sorrow brought the god-slaying team and his parents to the commander's residence in Grand Clarity region. Hu Xiao, who was guarding the commander's residence, told Knight Sorrow that everyone was to gather at Dongxian City. Knight Sorrow nodded and brought everyone to Dongxian City via the teleportation array. Not far away from the transportation formation, Dongshuan Square was packed with troops. The troops were orderly, and the realm of Enigma's men were among them as well. Knight Sorrow took out a teleportation crystal and cut a clone of it into the teleportation array. Then, he looked at Wu Lingfei. Wu Lingfei nodded and handed Knight Sorrow a teleportation crystal clone. It was a clone of Dongxian City's teleportation crystal. Andi Fei, wait for the teleportation formation's teleportation crystal to light up. Knight Sorrow nodded to Wu Lingfei and teleported to Danding City. Then, he rushed to the cliff where Taichuan was and set up a teleportation formation there. The underground space of Taichuan Canyon was too small. Even if there were many people, there was no place to set up a teleportation formation. After setting up the teleportation formation, Knight Sorrow inserted a clone of Dongxian City's teleportation crystal. A moment later, Long Xiansheng and a group of saints arrived. Andi Fei, arrange for someone to teleport here. I will go down and take a look. Knight Sorrow nodded to Wu Lingfei and Long Xiansheng and flew down to Taichuan Canyon. In the past, it was very difficult for Knight Sorrow to go down. With the improvement of his strength, Knight Sorrow only needed a moment to reach the entrance of Taichuan Canyon. At the bottom of the canyon, Knight Sorrow saw Hua Yunpeng meditating. Great Elder Hua is here. Knight Sorrow nodded to Hua Yunpeng. There is a hidden danger here. I will stay here and cultivate while watching. Do you have something to say? Hua Yunpeng looked at Knight Sorrow in shock. He could not see through Knight Sorrow's cultivation. Yes, to solve the hidden danger here, we have to completely solve the hidden danger of Taichuan dimension. Knight Sorrow nodded to Hua Yunpeng. Then, Knight Sorrow shuttled back and forth in the teleportation formation. He found that he could control the law of nothingness and resist the law of Taichuan dimension suppression. Great Elder Hua, please go up and let the people above come down in batches. Knight Sorrow said to Hua Yunpeng. Hua Yunpeng nodded and flew up the canyon. A moment later, the saints of the 9 regions arrived at the bottom of the canyon. I will use my law of nothingness to resist the law of Taichuan dimension suppression. Everyone will enter through the teleportation formation formed by my law of nothingness. Knight Sorrow's body flashed into the teleportation formation. Standing at the bottom of the teleportation formation, Knight Sorrow twisted his hands. The law of nothingness rose and opened a teleportation formation. Then, the people from the 9 regions world and the profound mysteries realm entered the teleportation formation through Knight Sorrow's law of nothingness. Knight Sorrow rested 3 times before the people from the 9 regions world and the profound mysteries realm all passed through the teleportation formation. Let's rest for a while, Wu Lingfei said to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow nodded and sat down cross-legged to recover. After using his law of nothingness to resist the law of Taichuan dimension suppression for a long time, Knight Sorrow's soul power was greatly depleted. An hour later, Knight Sorrow had recovered to his peak state. Now, let's take the teleportation formation to the storm region where Clear Sky City is. That place is more important. We will start fighting there and then clear the area where Dongxiang City's spatial turbulence is. Knight Sorrow explained his plan. There's a teleportation formation here? Xia Lanjun looked at Knight Sorrow in surprise. I set it up the last time I came in. I thought it would be useful. It can save us the trouble of traveling a few million miles, Knight Sorrow said. There's no need to say anything. You're ruthless enough. Let's get to work, Sky Underworld Saint said. Then, Knight Sorrow led everyone to the area where the spatial storm was. Night Sorrow saw that the spatial turbulence had weakened a lot. He should be able to pass through it. Next, I will explain the plan. I will be busy here for a while. Everyone will split into a few groups to fight. Xueshi, you know the way. You will bring Long Xiansheng, Shang Saint, and a group of people to the spatial turbulence in Dongshang City. You must kill the 2 high-level nether beasts, Night Sorrow said to Xueshi. Understood. Xueshi nodded. Long Xiansheng and Shang Luo also nodded. Saint Xian and Senior Lan will lead a group of people. Sky Underworld Saint, Grandpa, you will lead a group of people to sweep through the various regions. Safety first. I don't want to see anyone from our camp die. Also, gather here in 3 months. We are going to take down the passageway to the netherworld. Now, come here and draw a map of the Supreme River space. Night Sorrow took out a map and called over an array master to draw the map. Soon, the teams were formed and the maps were obtained. The war will not end in a short time. This is also a training battle for us. We must be steady. Also, everyone, make way for the spatial passageway to the netherworld. Night Sorrow gave another order. Then, the teams set off. Each team was led by a peak saint. Night Sorrow made this arrangement because safety was the most important thing. Night Sorrow also left some people behind. True Ocean Saint, Nangan Saint, Jun Xuanji, Ren Tianji, and the members of the God-slaying team stayed behind. Senior True Ocean Saint, take these people and clean up the surroundings. Night Sorrow looked at the center of the spatial turbulence and said to True Ocean Saint. Chapter 862. You're really only in your 20s, Jun Xuanji said to Yi Shan as he looked at him. After this year, I'll be 22, said Night Sorrow. My 13th brother is still young, said Tianyu. I'm going to cultivate. The rest of you stabilize this place. This is our foundation in Tai River. Andi Fei, you can handle it, said Night Sorrow to Wu Lingfei. Wu Lingfei nodded. She knew that Night Sorrow wanted to resolve this problem. Cleaning up Tai River space was just a side benefit. Night Sorrow once more nodded to the God-slaying squad and the 3 women. Then he charged into the spatial storm. As for Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing, they were already in the same group as Yi Linghuan. The spatial storm was still very strong, but Night Sorrow didn't care. He just tempered his cultivation base in the storm. When he needed to recover, he would smash the spacetime pagoda into the ground. In any case, the spacetime pagoda was underground, so it didn't require a large amount of resources. As he cultivated, Night Sorrow approached the center of the spatial storm. Each time, he would charge a certain distance forward. As Yi Shang cultivated the myriad Tao treasured tome, the effect of refining his soul with his body made Yi Shang's soul power more and more condensed. After advancing for 1 day, Yi Shan had ventured 50 kilometers into the turbulent space streams. The power of the spatial storms grew increasingly strong. However, Yi Shan felt that this was a better way to hone himself. If he were not in a hurry to head to the central region to check out the situation, Yi Shan would have chosen to cultivate here. Jun Xuanji was very shocked. She knew just how strong the chaotic space was, but Night Sorrow didn't come out. 2 days later, Night Sorrow saw something special. A huge mountain had appeared. Above the mountain was a crack in the sky. Night Sorrow could sense that his soul avatar was above the mountain. After half a day, Night Sorrow reached the foot of the mountain and began to climb. Climbing the mountain was very tiring and difficult because the mountain was surrounded by chaotic space. Look at Z Chapter T, Z Network C. Fortunately, Night Sorrow had perseverance. After spending a day, Night Sorrow arrived halfway up the mountain. He saw an array formation halfway up the mountain. It was the 1000 derivation Grand Array. The 1000 derivation Great Array was the Clear Sky Saint King's ultimate array formation skill. Night Sorrow had the array diagram in his hands, so it was naturally not a problem for him to enter. He passed through the 1000 derivation Great Array and continued climbing. Because of the existence of the Great Array of 1000 derivations, the majority of the spatial storm was blocked. The spatial turbulence in the upper half of the mountain was weakened to the point that it was almost non-existent, and the spatial soul-devouring beast no longer existed. Without the obstruction of the spatial storms, Night Sorrow was able to climb up much faster. Moments later, he reached the sky. It was then that Night Sorrow saw the 9-domain essence shield. After passing through the origin, Night Sorrow saw the energy body of the 9 realms origin energy. If I had known that you could survive down here, would have directly sent you down here. The 9 realms origin energy clone communicated with Night Sorrow. Am I in Clear Sky City? Asked Night Sorrow. Yes. Clear Sky City's foundation is Clear Sky Mountain. Clear Sky Mountain is suppressing the part of the 9 realms that was pierced through, said the 9 realms origin energy. The 9 realms origin energy hoped that Night Sorrow could set up an array formation around Clear Sky Mountain to suppress the spatial storm's impact on Clear Sky Mountain. At the same time, it could block the spatial soul-devouring beast's threat to the 9 realms origin energy. Alright, I'll go take care of it later. Night Sorrow nodded. He took out the 1000 derivation illusory formation and 1000 derivation killing formation diagrams and started studying them. After studying them for 4 hours, Night Sorrow went to Clear Sky Mountain at the bottom of Clear Sky City to survey the terrain. Clear Sky Mountain occupied a huge area. Night Sorrow used 4 days to survey the terrain clearly. Then he began to set up the array formation. The Clear Sky St. King's array formation was originally very powerful, but because Clear Sky City had appeared, it had become unstable. That was why the 9 realms origin energy felt threatened. Night Sorrow started to sharpen his cultivation and set up the array formation in the spatial turbulence. Setting up an array formation that enveloped Clear Sky Mountain was a huge project. However, Night Sorrow did not mind. He had a lot of time anyway. The only thing he used was the spirit stones to set up the array formation. In the past, Night Sorrow was a little short of spirit stones. However, after obtaining Juntianya's storage ring, Night Sorrow's resources were no longer a problem. After a month, Night Sorrow's true chi cultivation had reached the middle stage of 9th level saint. His myriad Dao treasured canon cultivation had reached the middle stage of 8th level spirit refinement. Most importantly, his soul power had reached a point where it could not be improved. Night Sorrow planned to level up. This was very important to him. Forming a pearl with his soul power was the foundation of becoming a saint. It was also the key to refining the Void Fate Pearl. After drinking a pot of tea in the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda, Night Sorrow began to cultivate in seclusion. Soul power was difficult to cultivate, but leveling up was similar to true chi cultivation. It was not very difficult. The main problem was accumulation. Night Sorrow used 1 day to form the God Pearl. His spirit sea was bright as if there was a sun shining on it. The Void Fate Pearl revolved around the God Pearl. Just as Night Sorrow was about to stop cultivating, something strange happened. The Void Fate Pearl collided with Night Sorrow's God Pearl and fused into one. At this moment, Night Sorrow felt the existence of the Void Fiend space. The Void Fate Pearl recognized its master and the refinement was complete. Yi Shang knew that the Emptiness Fate Pearl had been truly refined. It truly belonged to him. Night Sorrow even felt that he could enter the Void Fiend space at any time. He knew that when he went out, he could control and refine the Void Fiend space. He could truly work hard to complete the 9-domain world. Then, Yi Shang tried to activate the Nihility Fate Pearl. The Nihility Fate Pearl emitted a purple Nihility energy and Nihility law power to protect Yi Shang's divine sea and body. Night Sorrow was very excited. This was a milestone for his cultivation path. After stabilizing his emotions, Night Sorrow continued to stabilize his cultivation and set up the array. 2 months later, Night Sorrow finished setting up the 1000 derivation array. With the activation of the array, there were no more spatial storms around Hao Tian Mountain. There was no longer any possibility of threatening the 9-domain origin shield. The spatial soul-devouring beast could not even get close, let alone devour the 9-domain origin chi. With the activation of the array, the 9-domain origin chi energy figure appeared in front of Night Sorrow again. Now, I am not in danger. You guys can handle the war matters. At the same time, Night Sorrow also obtained a strand of origin energy from the 9-domain origin chi. Night Sorrow asked the 9-domain origin chi how to refine a world. The 9-domain origin chi told Night Sorrow that this was a time-consuming process. One had to put the controllable origin pearl into the origin world and activate the origin pearl. This way, the origin pearl and the world would become one and be controlled by the controller. Chapter 863. I'm looking forward to your performance. The 9 regions' origin energy nodded to Night Sorrow and left. Its core was the Heaven's Ceiling Palace. Yishan also planned to go back because it wasn't far from the scheduled meeting time. It would be in the next few days. Passing through the spatial storms wasn't difficult for Night Sorrow. It took him 2 days to reach the meeting place. Night Sorrow had been cultivating. You've been gone for such a long time, Wu Lingfei grumbled to Yishang. Her heart was filled with worry. I've successfully dealt with the hidden danger. Spending some time was worth it. Other than that, my cultivation base has increased a lot, said Night Sorrow. Your cultivation base has increased quite well. How's your spiritual strength? Asked Wu Lingfei, looking at Night Sorrow's mid-9th rank cultivation base. Other people's spirit seas could probe him, but those who understood Night Sorrow didn't dare to probe his spirit sea. My spiritual strength has already condensed into a divine bead, but it's still in the stabilizing stage. Night Sorrow wouldn't hide anything from Wu Lingfei. As for Jun Xuanji, he wasn't afraid of her knowing. Even if she knew, so what? Your spiritual strength has condensed into a divine bead? That's great. Once you control the laws and your spiritual strength condenses into a divine bead, you'll be able to smoothly reach the Saint Realm, said Wu Lingfei excitedly. Chapter 51. There's no rush. How's everyone doing? Asked Night Sorrow. We've already cleared out the nether beasts in the surrounding tens of thousands of miles. However, the other 3 teams still haven't returned, said Jun Xuanji. When they come back, Auntie Fei, crush the message crystal to notify me. I still have some things to do, Yishan said to Wu Lingfei. Alright, then go. Wu Lingfei nodded. She knew that unless there was something urgent, Night Sorrow wouldn't leave. Night Sorrow took a transportation formation to the Medicine Valley region. Then he went to the place where he had entered the void fiendish space. Sensing the void space's location, Night Sorrow cast Space Rend. He tore through space and began to travel through the turbulent flow of space. After traveling for some distance, Night Sorrow saw the void space's spatial barrier. Yishang used the spatial rend again to break the barrier of the empty fiendish space. He entered the empty fiendish space and controlled the emptiness fate pearl to leave his body. He controlled the emptiness fate pearl to enter the ground of the empty fiendish space and fuse with it. As the fusion progressed, Night Sorrow felt a sense of familiarity with the void fiend space. After refining the void fiendish space, Yishang returned to the 9-domain world. After walking around, he discovered that he could clearly feel the connection between him and the void fiendish space. He knew that when the void fate pearl and the void fiendish space completely merged, he could control the void fiendish space. Then Night Sorrow returned to the void space and rushed towards the place where he had obtained the void space rend. He felt that there would be spirit stones and crystal stones there. In the past, Night Sorrow would take a long time to get there. At that time, he was only a 3rd-order martial saint. Now, he was a 9th-order martial saint. 2 hours later, Night Sorrow arrived at the place. Night Sorrow put Shao Kong in his sleeves and let Shao Kong investigate. Soon, Shao Kong found a large amount of spirit stones and crystal stones on the lone mountain that had been blown up by the energy. However, Shao Kong advised Night Sorrow not to dig for them for now. Night Sorrow did not lack spirit stones. If he dug for them, the spirit chi in the void space would decrease. After thinking about it for a moment, Yishang felt that Shao Kong's words made sense. He did not lack crystals or spirit stones. As for the void attribute crystals, Yishang did not need them either. his current attributes were already saturated. Furthermore, with his void fate jewel in the future, he would have no problem replenishing his void attribute. After that, Night Sorrow walked around the void space. This was his territory. After walking around the void space, Night Sorrow felt that the connection between him and the void space was getting closer and closer. Even the resistance of flying had decreased a lot. After returning to Nine Domain World, Night Sorrow felt a lot more at ease. No matter what, there would be no problem in repairing Nine Domain World in the future. Even if the Great Massacre Calamity came early, the people of Nine Domain World would have a place to hide. This void space was his territory. No one else could enter. After that, Night Sorrow entered Taichuan and teleported to the outer region of the spatial storm. Is it done? Did it go smoothly? Wu Lingfei asked. It went smoothly, very smoothly. Senior Long Xiansheng, how was your group? Night Sorrow looked at Long Xiansheng, Shang Luo, and the others. The results of the battle are not bad. We managed to kill 2 high-level nether beasts in the spatial turbulence near Dongshang City. They were the 2 nether beasts that attacked our 9 regions world. Afterward, we also managed to kill some of them along the way. Long Xiansheng said. The chaotic space ahead is the foundation of Clear Sky City. I've set up a formation there. The chaotic space and the spatial soul-devouring beasts will no longer be able to threaten our 9 Domain World and the Heaven Sealing Palace. Night Sorrow also spoke of his results. That's great. When those 2 groups of people return, you can make the necessary arrangements. Right now, everything seems to be going in a good direction. Long Xiansheng said happily. 4 days later, all the groups returned. They had killed quite a few nether beasts. Some of them had even obtained the inheritances of experts who had died during the Divine Seal War. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow looked at Xiaolonjun. Back then, Clear Sky Holy King's ancestor established the Night Moon Sky, Void Dao Holy King established the Void Dao Sky, and Central Prefecture Holy King established the Central Prefecture Palace. Now, the remnants of the Ji family are entrenched in the Central Prefecture Palace. They are the descendants of the Central Prefecture Holy King. Not really. The Central Prefecture Holy King was an ascetic cultivator. He didn't have any descendants. The Central Prefecture Palace is actually a sect. The ancestor of the Ji family was an elder of the Central Prefecture Palace. Perhaps he didn't die in battle back then and left the heavenly abode of the Central Prefecture Palace to the Ji family, said Xiaolonjun. The Central Prefecture Holy King died in battle for the 9 Domain World. He was a wise man. If the Ji family is his descendant, it will be difficult for me to deal with them. Since that's the case, let's continue to kill. The Central Prefecture scripture is in my hands. It will be an inherited cultivation technique of the Commander's Mansion, said Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow had been troubled by a question in his heart. That was the relationship between the Ji family and the Central Prefecture Holy King. If the Ji family was the descendant of the Central Prefecture Holy King, it would be immoral to kill them. Now that he knew that the relationship between the Ji family and the Central Prefecture Holy King wasn't close, he felt more at ease. Even a wise man like the Central Prefecture Holy King died in battle. If the ancestor of the Ji family is still alive, he must be a coward. There's no need to be polite to them, said Long Xiansheng. I understand. In addition, I have some good news for everyone. I'm already working on the matter of repairing the 9 Domain Worlds. If we can finish it ahead of time, it will be much easier to resist the massacre, said Yishan. That's great news, said Heavenly Underworld Saint. Chapter 864. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone nodded. No one had any objections. In the last battle, Night Sorrow had displayed his might and prestige. Following that, Night Sorrow led his people to the Netherworld's channel. They slaughtered their way through, killing any nether beasts they saw. Night Sorrow knew that nether beasts were second-tier lifeforms in the Netherworld. The ones who ruled the Netherworld were the Nether race, and the nether beasts were just battle beasts under their rule. Night Sorrow didn't even have a chance to fight because there were too many saints and paragons. Ordinary battles didn't have anything to do with him. The Supreme River space takes up too much space. We've swept through it, but there are still quite a few nether beasts, said Wu Lingfei, who was by Night Sorrow's side. Don't worry. Once we block the channel from the nether world to the Supreme River space, we can spread out the net and slowly clear it out. We don't lack time. Our combat members also need to temper themselves, said Night Sorrow. If that's the case, it shouldn't be a problem. Back then, you said you were already working on repairing the 9 regions world. What's going on? Asked Wu Lingfei to Night Sorrow. I've already refined the Nihility Fate Pearl. This time, I went out to send the Nihility Fate Pearl to the Nihility Fiendish space so that it can fuse with the Nihility Fate Pearl. Once the fusion is complete, I'll be the master of the Nihility Fiendish space. At that time, the 9 regions world's laws will be complete, and the world's laws will be supreme. The mysterious heaven world won't be able to invade as they please, said Night Sorrow. Things really are going smoothly. Right now, we're racing against time to repair the 9 regions world before the slaughter. That'll make things much less troublesome. Wu Lingfei waved her jade-like arm and said. The group moved forward. At night, Yi Shang would order everyone to set up camp and then he would meditate to stabilize his cultivation. On this day, as soon as they set up camp and were drinking tea, Night Sorrow's body trembled. This was because he had established a connection with the first department. His clone in the heaven-sealing Grand Hall had been completed. At this time, in a special space within the heaven-sealing temple, a man was standing there. This man was Night Sorrow's soul avatar. He waved his arm, and a green robe of energy appeared on his body. 7 VLP, it feels alright. It's just that I have a close connection with the heaven-sealing palace and can't leave, the green-robed Night Sorrow muttered to himself. Night Sorrow's soul avatar was catalyzed by the heaven-sealing Great Hall and was closely related to the heaven-sealing Great Hall. At this moment, he knew how to guard the 9-domain origin protective barrier. The situation of the great array outside was also reflected in his divine sense C. At this time, the 9-domain origin Qi appeared in front of Night Sorrow. You have the ability to activate the 9-domain origin protective barrier and the outer 2 formations. However, during the catalyzing process, your body has become one with the core formation. You can't leave the 9-domain origin protective barrier. I understand. When I have time, I'll have my main body send over a spatial ring. It's a bit inconvenient. Night Sorrow stretched his body and sat down cross-legged to sense his body's condition. As for weapons, the heaven-sealing Great Hall can give you a king-class spear. You can say that you are invincible within the 9-domain origin protective barrier, said the 9-domain origin Qi to Night Sorrow. I will firmly guard this place. Night Sorrow nodded. Work hard on your cultivation. Your situation is different from Clear Sky Sage King's. He is a remnant soul. You have become one with the heaven-sealing Great Hall's formation, so your lifespan is unlimited. As long as the heaven-sealing Great Hall is not destroyed, you will be undying. Your cultivation base will increase infinitely with your main body. The 9-domain origin Qi then left. Undying and indestructible, the white-robed Night Sorrow muttered from within the camp. What did you say? Asked Wu Lingfei. My soul avatar has reached large success. Because it has become one with the core formation of the heaven-sealing Great Hall, it is undying, said Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow then explained his soul avatar's situation. It can have children. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow with surprise. Aunt Fei, your soul avatar can't? Asked Night Sorrow. It can't. The avatar's body is real, but its blood Qi is different from the main body's. It can't reach that level. That's an ability that only the main body has. Wu Lingfei shook her head. Yi Shang nodded. He understood that this was the reason why the heaven-sealing Grand Hall had refined his blood essence into his soul clone. With a soul avatar that is equivalent to your main body, you'll have a layer of insurance. Wu Lingfei was happy for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow continued to cultivate. He planned to send some things to his soul avatar later, such as robes, wine, and tea. His soul avatar also needed to live. It was no different from the main body. As they advanced, they killed their way through. But that had nothing to do with Night Sorrow. Half a month later, the group was very close to the Netherworld passageway. Yi Wuyo, who was scouting ahead, came back and told Yi Shang that the spatial passageway was filled with nether beasts and nether race people. At this time, they needed to come up with a strategy. Within the command tent, the commander's residence and the various saints were all present. We have to be extremely cautious in the battle at the spatial passageway. Does anyone have any thoughts? Asked Night Sorrow from the main seat. We can fight, but you'll have to come up with a strategy, said the heavenly underworld saint. Elder June, what do you think? Asked Night Sorrow. Then I'll tell you what I think. We'll only be able to defend ourselves by occupying the passage in the Supreme River Dimension. If we're going to fight, we'll have to take over both sides quickly, Jun Xuanji said. My thoughts are the same. If we want to occupy both sides of the spatial channel, we'll be able to attack and defend at any time. Right now, gather all the formation grandmasters and grandmasters. I'll stealthily sneak in and set up a grand formation without the other side noticing. After that, we'll all move out and take down both sides of the spatial channel, said Night Sorrow. Sneaking around again, muttered Jun Xuanji. This is called strategy. Isn't it good to start the battle without expending any energy? Asked Night Sorrow with a frown. It's not bad. It's quite ruthless. Jun Xuanji nodded. He knew that Night Sorrow had heaven-defying abilities and could silently break through spatial seals. That would be a decisive factor in the war between worlds. It was something that no one could defend against. Chapter 865. Then, someone went to gather the formation masters. A moment later, a dozen or so people gathered outside the command tent. They were all formation masters, and Jun Xuanji was standing in front of them. Why are you standing here? We're going to set up a formation so that the netherworld can't come into contact with the spatial tunnel. The battle will take some time. Night Sorrow looked at Jun Xuanji with a frown. Jun Xuanji was beautiful without her veil, and she had the arrogance of a superior. However, Night Sorrow knew that this woman was full of tricks, and it was better to stay away from her. I'm a formation master. Aren't you going to set up a formation? Jun Xuanji said confidently. On the GS section of the Zmost Zina chapter, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, we still need someone to set up a battle here. There are 2 vice commanders here and many saint seniors. There's nothing for me to do. I'll just help set up the formation, Jun Xuanji said. It's good to go. You're the elites of the 2 regions. If you work together, you'll be able to work together in the future, Xian Wenxiu said. Hearing this, Night Sorrow nodded. He had to give Xian Wenxiu face. Xian Wenxiu had done a lot for the 9 regions world and the profound mysteries realm. Night Sorrow waved his right hand, and the space-time pagoda enlarged. When the space-time pagoda transformed into its original form, it was already dozens of feet tall. Little Kong told Night Sorrow that as long as Night Sorrow reached the Saint Realm, he would be able to control the space-time pagoda. At that time, he would be able to reach the clouds and be like a grain of sand in the ocean. Next, the formation masters entered the space-time pagoda. Jun Xuanji did not hesitate and entered as well. Martial Uncle Grand Uncle, Monarch Yun, stabilize the situation here. Don't be discovered. If a nether beast approaches the camp, kill it, Night Sorrow said to the Grand Uncle and Yin Tianlong. Then, his body flashed as he charged forward. Night Sorrow was extremely fast. Under the slashing of the spatial barrier, he left behind a series of afterimages. With his powerful soul power, he could easily avoid the nether beast Night Sorrow. When he was 50 miles away from the spatial channel, Night Sorrow quietly tore open space and started to travel through the turbulent space flow. With the power of the rules protecting his body, he didn't consume much energy. At the entrance of the spatial tunnel, Night Sorrow became cautious. The soul flow passed through the spatial barrier, and Night Sorrow discovered a few nether beast saints. Seizing the opportunity, Night Sorrow unleashed a space crack, breaking through the space tunnel's barrier. His body flashed into the space tunnel's turbulent flow. The moment he entered, he waved his left hand and smoothed out the space crack. At this moment, a few nether beast saints with human bodies and wolf heads appeared. They had all sensed the energy fluctuations and came over to take a look. They didn't sense anything and returned to their original positions. Night Sorrow's soul power also detected two special people. They were no different from humans, and the only difference was that they had a horn on their head. Night Sorrow knew that they were from the Nether race. After passing through the spatial channel, Night Sorrow investigated and discovered that the Netherworld's entrance was even more heavily guarded. There was a large hall near the entrance, and there were many pavilions around it. After waiting for a while, Night Sorrow took advantage of a gap in the patrols to use a space crack. He broke through the barrier between the spatial channel and the Netherworld's turbulent flow. Without being detected, he entered the Netherworld's turbulent flow and continued to travel. After traveling dozens of miles, Night Sorrow broke through the spatial barrier and entered the space-time pagoda. "What's the situation?" asked Jun Xuanji. "We've entered the Netherworld, but their defenses are very strong," said Night Sorrow as he took out a tea set and brewed tea. "Then we'll have to be careful when setting up the formation. We can also set up the formation a bit further away from the spatial channel and slowly push our way to the entrance," said Jun Xuanji. "Stability is the most important thing. I'll set up the illusion formation in a bit, and then everyone can leave. Does anyone have any suggestions for the formation? The stronger, the better, and the more complicated, the better. Don't let others break it in a few moves," said Night Sorrow. At this moment, everyone turned to look at Enho. He was a formation grandmaster. "Young master, this subordinate has recently studied the ancient formation diagram cosmic formation. I have some insights that can be used to set it up," said Enho. "Then tell everyone how to set up the formation." Night Sorrow nodded to Enho. "It's very complicated, and only I can command it. Everyone will set up the formation in different positions. Everyone has a foundation in formations, so it's fine as long as you don't get the formation wrong," said Enho. "All right. Our formation strategy is to first set up the illusion formation, and then set up the formation inside the illusion formation. Safety and secrecy are the most important things," said Night Sorrow. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone nodded. Next, Night Sorrow exited the space-time pagoda and moved closer to the spatial channel. There were still around 20 li left. When he could no longer get any closer, Night Sorrow brought out some spirit stones and set up an illusion formation with a radius of tens of zhang. Next, he sent everyone out. Everyone is now inside an illusion formation. Start setting up the formation. After setting up an area, continue setting up the illusion formation to push forward, ordered Night Sorrow. Next, Enho began arranging for everyone to set up the formation. Night Sorrow was also busy. However, he was setting up an illusion formation to increase the area where everyone could move around. Although the process of setting up the illusion formation was somewhat slow, it was still ongoing. 8 days. After 8 days, they set up a great formation with a radius of over 20 li around the spatial channel. The isolation of the formation is complete. Continue increasing the thickness of the formation, said Night Sorrow to Enho. At any rate, as long as the formation was not activated, the other party would not notice. Next, they continued setting up the formation. Fortunately, the Grand Domain formation was set up in succession. Once it was activated, it would activate all at once. Those who did not understand formations would be trapped and killed if they entered. Half a month later, only the palace and a few buildings remained at the spatial channel's entrance. There were no more formations around them. Most importantly, there was no way to approach them. This mission is complete. After activating the formation, you guys enter the space-time pagoda. We'll head back and start the battle, said Night Sorrow to Enho. Enho nodded. He immediately activated the Grand Domain formation, which was composed of over 10,000 individual formations. Following the activation of the formation, winds and clouds rose and white mist spread out around the spatial channel's entrance. With the exception of the palace and the buildings, the rest of the space was enveloped in white mist and roiling energy. "Don't resist. I'll take you all away," said Night Sorrow to the people beside him. Next, his soul power surged out to take everyone into the space-time pagoda. Next, he utilized spatial Ren to enter the spatial turbulence and charged towards the spatial channel's entrance. Chapter 866. After Night Sorrow arrived at the spatial tunnel's entrance, he used spatial Ren to break through the spatial barrier and rushed into the spatial tunnel's turbulent flow. As soon as he entered the turbulent flow of space, he was attacked from behind. However, because of the turbulent flow of space, Night Sorrow didn't suffer much damage. After rushing out of the spatial passage, Night Sorrow broke through the spatial barrier of the Supreme River Space and entered the spatial turbulence to fly. At this time, the interior and exterior of the spatial passage were in chaos. The Netherworld world already knew that they were under attack. Night Sorrow quickly shuttled through the spatial turbulence and arrived at the campsite of the Nine Regions world and the Profound Mysteries realm after a while. After tearing open space and returning to the real world, Night Sorrow issued a battle order. That was to surround the spatial passageway and slaughter the Netherrealm forces. Then, through the spatial passageway, they would occupy the other party's spatial passageway. Following Night Sorrow's order, the people of the two realms rushed toward the spatial passage under the lead of the saints. At this time, the Nine Regions world had 4 pinnacle saints, a few high-level saints, and even more mid-level and low-level saints. After a while, they surrounded the spatial passage and began to kill. With the reincarnation spear in hand, Night Sorrow's attacks were deadly. As long as they were not saints, they would not be able to resist his violent attacks. In less than an hour, the Netherworld beasts and people of the Netherworld race at the spatial passage were killed by the elites of the Nine Regions world and the Profound Mysteries realm. Now, let's kill our way over and occupy the other side. Then, we will continue to stabilize the formation. Night Sorrow's body flashed and entered the spatial passage. The saints of the two realms who were worried that Night Sorrow would be in danger hurriedly followed. The others also quickly followed behind. On the Netherworld world side of the spatial passage, there was an 8-star saint from the Netherworld race guarding it. The rest were 3 mid-level saints and some venerables. This 8-star saint from the Netherworld race was directly controlled by Long Xuanqing's chaotic space and began to kill him. The other saints took control of the spatial passage like the autumn wind sweeping the fallen leaves. Following that, Night Sorrow brought the Array Masters out of the Spacetime Treasure Pagoda. Protector Entropy, continue strengthening the Array formation. We must make this place impregnable. After giving his instructions, Night Sorrow passed through the teleportation array and flew off into the distance. After flying for 20,000 li, he set up a teleportation array in a secluded mountain range. Then, he changed directions and flew for another 100,000 li before setting up another teleportation array. Night Sorrow set up the teleportation array, placed the teleportation crystal, and placed a spare teleportation crystal. In other words, as long as Night Sorrow returned to the spatial passage and set up the teleportation array, he could teleport back and forth. After doing all this, Night Sorrow returned to the spatial passageway. At this moment, the spatial passageway was surrounded by the Netherworld's army. It was an army of venerables, and there was a saint-level commander in the middle. Ignoring the enemies charging at him, Night Sorrow cut open space and entered the space turbulence. He passed through the array area and arrived at the entrance of the space tunnel. The people of the 9 Domains world were setting up camp at the entrance of the spatial passageway. Array Masters were reinforcing the array formations. Night Sorrow, where did you go? Xia Lanjun asked as she looked at Night Sorrow. I went to a secluded place in the enemy camp and set up 2 teleportation arrays, Night Sorrow said. Make sure they're well hidden. Don't be like me. Once the teleportation array was discovered, you dug a hole and waited to jump into it. Jun Xuanji recalled how he had been tricked last time. I won't. I also set up an illusion array outside. As long as the illusion array is broken, the teleportation array will naturally be destroyed. Night Sorrow smiled. He had long since left a backup plan. That's good. Jun Xuanji nodded. Now that the Nine Domains world was closely connected to the Profound Mysteries realm, she didn't want to lose. The enemy is really strong. If we don't have the initiative and fight them, we won't be able to defeat them, said Long Xianxing. Just now, Night Sorrow had gone to set up the teleportation array. Under Entropy's lead, they had used the array formation to probe the netherworld's strength. As the saying goes, in a battle of wits and courage. Now that we've occupied this place, we have the initiative. We can use any strategy, Night Sorrow said. As Night Sorrow spoke, he began to set up the teleportation array. Once the array was set up, the teleportation crystal lit up. Okay, we can teleport at any time. Should we send someone to scout for information? Yi Linghuan looked at Night Sorrow and asked. That's a little dangerous. The enemy is very strong, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a moment. Grandpa can scout for information. If you meet the enemy, just use spatial rend. You can escape from the spatial turbulence, Yi Linghuan said. Can't saints directly suppress spatial rend? Last time, the saint from the Profound Mysteries realm suppressed my spatial rend and closed it, Night Sorrow said. P is the only one, the other C and BW are all pirated. Huh, that's because you didn't use the power of laws to protect yourself. Grandpa has the power of laws. No one can instantly suppress me, said Yi Linghuan with a smile. Then I'll go with Saint Skysplitter, said the Flying Tiger Saint. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow nodded. That was because information was very important. Nodding at Night Sorrow, Yi Linghuan and the Flying Tiger Saint took the teleportation array and left to scout for information. Yi Linghuan and the Flying Tiger Saint left. Yi Wuyo also volunteered to go. In the end, everyone decided to have Yi Wuyo and Xie Lanjun go together to scout for information. Protector Entropy, shouted Night Sorrow after sending the two teams of scouts away. Junior Master, subordinate has arrived. Entropy ran out of the teleportation array. Set up a spatial ceiling formation near the spatial channel. If we can do it, others might be able to do it as well. That's why we can't allow the space around the spatial channel to be torn apart, said Night Sorrow. I'll have to think about it. I can strengthen the spatial channel, but directly sealing it is difficult. That's not my area of expertise. I'll need some time, said Entropy. Alright, we have to hurry. Night Moon Sovereign, meditate everywhere and pay attention to the spatial fluctuations, ordered Night Sorrow. There's no need to go through so much trouble. I know how to set up a spatial ceiling formation, said Jun Xuanji. Then what are we waiting for? Set it up on both sides of the spatial channel, said Night Sorrow to Jun Xuanji. Following this, Jun Xuanji went to set up the spatial ceiling formation. The grand uncles arranged for people to set up camp. There were people standing guard on both sides of the spatial channel. Night Sorrow brewed a pot of tea in the command tent. As he drank, he thought about whether there were any holes in his strategy. Night Sorrow, there really is a large gap between our strength and theirs. Let alone the others, just the Netherworld warriors outside the teleportation array are not to be underestimated, said Heavenly Underworld Saint to Night Sorrow. Don't worry. There's no such thing as a dead end. If we're not strong enough, we'll just wait. In any case, the initiative is in our hands, said Night Sorrow. The others nodded. They all knew that this was the right strategy. They had seized the initiative in the first battle. Otherwise, if they had fought in the Supreme River space, it would have been a battle to the death. That was something no one wanted to face. Soon, Entropy came to report that the Netherworld realm's people were still gathering, but none of the formation masters were able to break the formation. Several formation masters had tried to break the formation, but before Entropy and the others could do anything, they were killed by the formation. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that right now, they could only see if the Grand Cycle formation could hold back the Netherworld realm's people. If it could, then they could stabilize the situation. If it couldn't, then they would have to think of other strategies. Chapter 867. Soon, the spatial channel was occupied by the 9 domain worlds camp. The situation stabilized. After observing for 7 or 8 days, Night Sorrow found that although the Netherworld world's cultivators were very strong, their understanding of formations was lacking. They simply couldn't break formations. After discovering this, Night Sorrow once again gathered the people from the commander's residence. "Commander, do you have any new orders?" asked Yun Tianlong. "Yes. The Netherworld world's formation research is lacking, so they can't break formations. In other words, our defensive formation is stable, so we need to stabilize the rear. Everyone, go out and clear out the Supreme River region. In the future, there can't be any nether beasts in the Supreme River region. They can't threaten the 9 domain world," said Night Sorrow. Hearing Yi Shang's words, everyone bowed and accepted their orders. Split up the teams. Each team must be led by a high-level saint. In other words, each high-level saint will lead a team. Cultivators and formation masters who have room to grow stronger will stay behind. The formation here is stable, and we need people to support and maintain it, added Night Sorrow. Following this, the 2 vice commanders went to arrange the teams, and the elders of the commander's residence also began to move. The majority of the people moved. Xueshi stayed behind to accompany Night Sorrow, while the god-slaying squad followed Long Xianqing to fight. Night Sorrow tossed a messaging crystal to Jun Xuanji. "If there's a big problem, crush it. If there's a small problem, deal with it yourself." "What about you?" asked Jun Xuanji as he took Night Sorrow's messaging crystal. "If I have to do everything, then why would I need an elder like you?" Glancing at Jun Xuanji, Long Xuanji entered the space-time pagoda. Jun Xuanji was startled by Night Sorrow's words. He let out a breath and calmed himself before continuing to set up the spatial ceiling formation. After entering the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow and Xueshi flirted for a while before having Little Sky transfer all of Xueshi's daily necessities to the 70th level. Xueshi was a 6-star saint, so she could afford to stay on the 70th level. Night Sorrow also planned on staying on the 70th level in the future. Because of the time acceleration, his cultivation base could quickly increase. First release then, Night Sorrow began to meditate and cultivate. Recently, the 6th bloodline talent had shown signs of loosening, so Night Sorrow continued to strive for it. Night Sorrow's main cultivation direction was to increase his true Qi cultivation and the myriad Tao Tome cultivation, because he wanted to break through to the 7th stage. Although he was young, Night Sorrow was someone who could calm down. Once he started cultivating, he would forget about the time. In any case, this was a peaceful period, and there was no danger in the war. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Night Sorrow's Shin-Chi cultivation was not far from the late stage of the 9th level Venerable Realm. His myriad Dao treasured canon had also reached the late stage of the 8th level of the Spirit Refinement Realm. If others wanted to increase their cultivation, they would need several years or even longer. This was because the amount of energy required was incomparably large. However, Night Sorrow had the space-time pagoda fully instilling energy into him. All he needed to do was refine it. In addition, Night Sorrow's divine sea, which was originally empty apart from the divine bead, was now filled with a purple fog. This was his newly cultivated soul force, and the crescent blade of soul extinguishing slash was becoming more and more solid. At this time, only a month and a half had passed in the outside world. After cultivating with Xueshi for a while and stabilizing his cultivation, Night Sorrow left the space-time pagoda. He wanted to see what was going on. Seeing Night Sorrow come out, Jun Xuanji, who was patrolling outside the formation, was stunned. "What's the situation recently?" Night Sorrow asked Jun Xuanji. "A lot of people have gathered in the Nether Realm. If it weren't for the formation, they would have eaten us alive," Jun Xuanji reported to Night Sorrow. "As long as the formation is effective, it's fine," Night Sorrow said. After that, Night Sorrow asked the two groups of people who were scouting for information, but there was no news. The people who had gone to the Supreme River space to fight had not returned either. Everything was still going on. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow went through the spatial channel and began setting up a formation near the channel's entrance. Jun Xuanji also followed. "Why aren't you setting up the formation over there? Why are you here?" Jun Xuanji asked when he saw Night Sorrow setting up the formation. "I'm setting up a defensive line. Even if the formation over there isn't stable, there's a second line of defense. It's better to be prepared," Night Sorrow said. Jun Xuanji understood after thinking about it. Night Sorrow did this to add a layer of insurance. In order to ensure that the formation was strong, Night Sorrow had used top-grade spirit stones at the key locations. Night Sorrow had even used top-grade spirit stones. Even Jun Xuanji, who understood formations, could not understand what Night Sorrow was doing. What was the 1000 amplification formation? It was the clear sky sage king's blood, sweat, and tears. No matter how profound one's attainments in formations were, it was difficult to understand without a formation diagram. Night Sorrow, who was tired, rested for a while before continuing his research. After 4 days, a small 1000 amplification killing formation was formed. "You're using too many spirit stones," said Jun Xuanji, who was watching Night Sorrow set up the formation. "I still have to use them. However, I still gained a lot." "It was worth it," said Night Sorrow. In truth, Jun Xuanji did not know that Night Sorrow had gained a new understanding of formations while he was setting up the formation. He had also reached the level of a formation grandmaster. Now that the formation was complete, Night Sorrow felt a bit more at ease. He then returned to the camp inside the spatial channel to make tea. After drinking tea, Night Sorrow tested the strength of the spatial passageway's spatial confinement array formation. Night Sorrow could still cut open space, but it was very strenuous. It could be said to be extremely strenuous. Not bad. Night Sorrow felt that it was very strenuous for him, and it would be even more difficult for others to break open. There was no problem in terms of safety. "You have to give me the spirit stones." "I used a lot of them," said Jun Xuanji as he looked at Night Sorrow. "Wait for the Grand Elder to return. Ask her for them. I don't care about resources." Night Sorrow directly ignored Jun Xuanji. After telling Jun Xuanji to call him if there was anything, Night Sorrow returned to the Spacetime Pagoda to continue cultivating. This time, other than checking out the situation, he also wanted to get some fresh air. "It's safe outside. Aren't you afraid that someone will dig out the spirit stones you used to set up the formation?" asked Xueshi as she looked at Night Sorrow. She saw that Night Sorrow had set up the formation but had not activated it. "You're overthinking it. I've placed the spirit stones very deep into the ground. They won't move easily. If someone touches the formation's foundation, they'll activate the formation and be attacked," said Night Sorrow. After that, Yi Shan began to cultivate again. He planned to cultivate his true qi to the peak of the 9th level as soon as possible, then settle down. As for the myriad Daos treasured tome, he still had a long way to go before reaching the 7th level of the Golden Body realm, so he was in no hurry. Half a month had passed in the outside world, while Yi Shang had been cultivating in the Spacetime Pagoda for another month. Yi Shang's cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th level Venerable realm, which meant that he had reached the critical point of breaking through to the Saint realm. Night Sorrow stretched his waist. He knew that he would have to slowly settle down. Once he stabilized, he would be able to break through to the Saint realm. When Night Sorrow came out of the Spacetime Pagoda, Yi Linghuan and the Flying Tiger Saint returned. The two of them brought back some news that made Night Sorrow feel very depressed. Yi Linghuan and the Flying Tiger Saint had disguised themselves and captured people to interrogate them. They knew some of the Nether realm's strength. Chapter 868. We can't fight them head-on. We can't beat them. Night Sorrow felt a headache coming on after hearing the news from Yi Linghuan. The difference is huge. The main reason is that the netherworld race and netherworld beasts have much longer lifespans than us. That's why they have so many peak saints. Yi Linghuan explained the reason why the other side had so many peak saints. Fortunately, we've stabilized the situation. If they really broke in, we wouldn't be able to hold on, Night Sorrow said. Also, we know that they didn't attack us previously because they were waiting for their first king, the Nine King, to come out of seclusion. Last time, they sent 2 high-level saints but couldn't defeat us. So, they decided to wait for the 7 underworld kings to gather. If they didn't wait, then the 9 regions world would be in big trouble, Flying Tiger Saint said. This is fate. The god of fate is on our side. Now that we have the advantage, they can't break in even with their strength. That's not good, Night Sorrow said. Right now, we can only stabilize the situation and wait for an opportunity, Yi Linghuan said. Night Sorrow nodded. The other side had 7 peak saints. This wasn't something that the 9 regions world and the profound mysteries realm could fight against. Not long after Yi Linghuan and Flying Tiger Saint returned, the people who were fighting in the Supreme River Dimension also returned. The Supreme River Dimension had been cleaned up. Although the Supreme River Dimension was huge, it couldn't withstand such a cleanup. After knowing the strength of the Netherworld realm, Long Xiansheng and the others felt helpless. There was no way to fight when there was a huge difference in strength. The 9 regions world's army was at an absolute disadvantage when it came to peak saints. 3 days later, Yi Wuyo and Xia Lanjun returned. The 2 of them had investigated in detail. Xia Lanjun was a woman, so her thoughts were more meticulous. They brought back a detailed map with the distribution of the major forces in the Nether realm. Night Sorrow, do you have any ideas? If not, we'll just defend. With the formation, we can still hold on, Sky Underworld Saint said. Let me think. Looking at the map, Night Sorrow tried to think of a solution to the crisis. After pondering for a while, Night Sorrow nodded at Yi Wuyo with the map in his hand. Father, since you've gone out to investigate the other party's strength, you'll naturally know the names of the 7 underworld kings and the forces they belong to. Help me mark them down. After that, Yi Wuyo circled the forces that the 7 underworld kings belonged to on the map. After taking 2 deep breaths, Night Sorrow made his decision. Kill. How are we supposed to kill a peak saint? There are 4 of us and 7 of them. Let's just send them to be killed, said Sky Underworld Saint to Night Sorrow. Don't talk so much, just listen. Long Xiansheng glared at Heavenly Underworld Saint. Gather our strongest forces and kill their strongest individual soldier. Night Sorrow spoke his mind. Seeing that everyone was confused, Night Sorrow explained. Night Sorrow's idea was for the 4 peak saints on their side to go out and attack the 7 underworld kings. They would capture one of them and kill them one by one. That's a ruthless idea. It's not bad. It'll be easy for us 4 peak saints to capture one of their peak saints. Sky Underworld Saint's eyes lit up. The other people who were originally in low spirits also became spirited. Alright, we'll set off tomorrow. The earlier the better, said Night Sorrow. We'll be the ones setting off. This matter has nothing to do with you, said Long Xiansheng to Night Sorrow. I'm worried, said Night Sorrow. You don't have to worry about the 4 of us going to kill one of them, said Xian Wenxiu. I'll go with you. If there's a special situation, I can tear open space and bring everyone away, said Night Sorrow. There's no need for you. Grandpa will go with us. This way, even if there's a problem, it won't be a problem to retreat, said Yi Linghuan. He wouldn't let Night Sorrow take the risk. Seeing that everyone was so determined, Night Sorrow could only nod. He then looked at Grand Elder. Spiritual fluid of origin, spiritual fluid of life, and other necessary resources have been prepared. Yes. Grand Elder cupped her hands. She knew that Night Sorrow valued people the most. He didn't want anyone on his side to die. Night Sorrow, just wait for our good news. You've come up with such a good idea. If we can't solve the problem, it'll be our fault, said Long Xiansheng. Remember, complete the encirclement and kill everyone who knows about the battle. Seal off the news. Only then can we carry out the next attack safely, said Night Sorrow. Then, Long Xiansheng and the other 3 peak saints, as well as Yi Linghuan, took the transmission array and left to carry out Night Sorrow's plan. Yi Shang, you don't have to worry. As long as the 7 underworld kings don't gather, they won't be able to threaten the safety of our team. You know how strong Senior Long Xiansheng is. The announcing saint also has a high-grade holy treasure, Xia Lanjun said to Yi Shang. Night Sorrow nodded. Then, he looked at Grand Elder and Lu Qin. Grand Elder and Martial Ant, the array master used some spiritual stones some time ago. Also, replenish her spiritual stones. After everything was arranged, Night Sorrow brought his parents, Xueshi, and 3 fiancés to his tent. Then, he made tea. Father, Mother, it's been hard on you. It's okay. I feel a sense of accomplishment fighting under my son's command. I don't feel tired at all. I'm in high spirits, said Yu Qing with a smile. With the cleanup, the Supreme River space won't be a hidden danger anymore. You can be more assured as the commander of the commander's residence, said Sikong Chuyu to Night Sorrow. Looking at the U9 on the D chapter, if I'm being assured, I can only be assured when Senior Long Xiansheng and the other seniors come back safely, said Night Sorrow as he poured tea for everyone. Don't worry, there won't be any problems. Son, you're not far from entering the Saint Realm, right? Yi Wuyo looked at Night Sorrow and asked. My cultivation is still stabilizing. It's about time for me to break through, said Night Sorrow. That's amazing. When Mother first saw you, you were only a mid-level venerable. Now, you're charging toward the Saint Realm. Yu Qing looked at her son with pride. After staying for a while, Night Sorrow sent everyone to the 60th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda to cultivate. He himself went to the 70th floor. Yi Wuyo was a saint, so he could go to the 70th floor. However, Night Sorrow felt that it was more appropriate for his parents to be together. As for the energy that everyone needed to cultivate, Night Sorrow could bear it. He just needed to give Shao Kong more spirit stones. Night Sorrow stabilized his true qi every day, increasing his soul power and the cultivation of the myriad Daos treasured tome. After cultivating for a month, Night Sorrow's cultivation of the myriad Daos treasured tome broke through to the 9th level of the spirit refinement realm. If he broke through again, he would reach the 7th level of the golden body realm. By then, he would be able to fight against saints. In truth, it was very difficult to break through from the spirit refinement realm to the golden body realm from the spirit refinement realm. One needed to control the laws and have the power of laws fill the body. However, Night Sorrow had already completed this step while cultivating his true qi and soul power. Night Sorrow would also go to the 60th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda to see how his parents and fiancé were cultivating. He would also go to the campsite to check on them. To the 9 regions world, guarding the spatial passageway was the most important thing. If it was lost, it would be a serious problem. Chapter 869. Night Sorrow spent most of his time cultivating. He had a strong sense of danger. Only when he was strong would he feel at ease. He searched for Orchid Book Handle and read new chapters. Other than cultivating, Night Sorrow would often visit the camp of the God-slaying squad. Every time she saw Night Sorrow, she would cuddle with Night Sorrow for a while. Night Sorrow had told her many times that it was inappropriate for a lady to hug him every time she saw him. However, she did not mind at all. Every time Tianyu saw Yi Shang, he would ask for wine. His cultivation had also increased in a straight line. He was the person with the highest cultivation in the God-slaying squad, reaching the 5th level venerable realm. Even the venerables of the God-slaying squad who cultivated by eating dragon spirit pills couldn't compare to him. Night Sorrow also asked Xia Jun to arrange for people to set up the teleportation array. From the spatial tunnel to the Medicine Valley region, they must be able to communicate quickly. Now that there were no main forces in the 9 regions world, they must be able to contact them immediately if something happened. Night Sorrow, Jun Xuanji, and Ren Tianji also communicated more. However, Ren Tianji spent most of his time cultivating. Sometimes, Night Sorrow would also go and check on the movements of the netherworld. Currently, the netherworld did not know how to break the array at the spatial tunnel. This was because the foggy area was filled with fierce beasts that devoured life. The commander of the netherworld army did not appear after sending people into the array. This made him very nervous. He did not continue to send array masters and only surrounded the area. Night Sorrow wanted to bring people out to kill, but because he did not want to alert the enemy, he could only endure it. In the blink of an eye, Long Xiansheng and the rest had left for almost 2 months. Night Sorrow was a little anxious. After all, it had been a long time. Yi Shang, you don't need to worry. Long Xiansheng himself has the strength to kill opponents of the same level. The saint declared also has a saint tool. There won't be a problem. If there is a problem, the news will be sent back. Wu Lingfei came to Yi Shang's side. The netherworld is a world with a long history. It is indeed powerful and not easy to deal with, Night Sorrow said. Wu Lingfei nodded. She also understood how strong the netherworld race was. They were all dark elemental cultivators. Not to mention how strong the nether beasts were, they were just battle beasts under the command of the netherworld race. We have also discovered many nether beasts with the death attribute. If there is a death attribute among the 7 nether kings, it will be difficult to deal with them. Night Sorrow voiced his concern. There are still some advanced attributes at Tier 4 and Tier 5. Although there aren't many who have entered the Venerable Realm, there are still some. However, it's difficult to control advanced attributes. It's as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Wu Lingfei said. She had felt it before. She had advanced from the water element to the life element, but the life element was very difficult to grasp. It was Night Sorrow who had taken the life saint crystal and pushed her forward, allowing her to enter the saint realm through the life element. If the other side doesn't have any advanced attribute saints, then it'll be fine. Us 4 peak saints will be able to defeat them one by one. Hearing that, Night Sorrow felt a bit more at ease. The 2 of them patrolled around the array formation. When they returned to the command tent in the campsite, the teleportation array formation flashed and a figure appeared on it. Night Sorrow quickly walked over. Because this transportation formation was only connected to the netherworld's 2 transportation formations, only Long Xuanqing's group of 5 could be teleported back here. Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu didn't seem to be injured, but Sky Underworld Saint and Shang Luo seemed a bit dispirited. As for Yi Linghuan, he was still normal. You're all back. Seniors, are you all right? Night Sorrow asked worriedly. It was our negligence this time. We didn't complete our mission properly, said Long Xiansheng. Don't worry. Even if we didn't kill them, it's fine. We just have to defend this place. Night Sorrow was already very happy that they had returned safely. After that, Long Xiansheng explained the situation to Long Xiansheng. It wasn't that they didn't manage to kill anything this time, it was just that they didn't manage to get to the end. They managed to kill 3 Hell Kings, but when they were about to kill the 4th one, that Hell King was very strong. He broke through the blockade and escaped. Following that, when the 5 of them went to kill the other Hell Kings, they were surrounded by 4 other Hell Kings. Because of the continuous fighting, Shang Luo and Sky Underworld Saint had been injured, and so they had been suppressed by the other side. It was Yi Linghuan who had repeatedly used spatial cracks to block the other side's attacks. At the same time, he had also brought the 4 of them into a spatial crack and left the battlefield. This result is very good. Killing 3 of the other side's Nether Kings has equalized our strength. Night Sorrow was very happy to hear Long Xuanqing's words. This was a great result. If that fellow hadn't escaped, we would have been able to kill them one by one until the end. We didn't understand that fellow. He had entered the Saint Realm with a high-level attribute, so he suppressed us. Long Xiansheng explained the reason why that Nether King had escaped. It's fine. Now that Senior Long Xiansheng and Senior Xian Saint are uninjured, can you continue fighting? Asked Night Sorrow. Yes, the two of us can continue fighting. Long Xianxing nodded. He knew that if there wasn't a need, Knight Sorrow wouldn't have asked this. Xian Wenxiu also nodded, indicating that they could continue fighting. Martial Uncle Grand Uncle, gather all the saints and invincible venerables. Before the King of Hell arrives, we'll gather all our peak combat power and launch a wave of attacks at their army. We'll kill a wave of their saint commanders and peak venerables to equalize the strength of our two worlds, Yi Shang announced his decision. All right. Tai Shu Yan went to inform the others. Long Xianxing and Xian Wenxiu also began to recover. After leaving the battlefield, they had been hurrying on their way. Knight Sorrow also brought his parents and Xuexi out of the space-time pagoda. 2 hours later, Long Xianxing and Xian Wenxiu, who had recovered after consuming the Origin Spirit Liquid and Life Spirit Liquid, nodded to Knight Sorrow. I can also continue fighting. Sky Underworld Saint nodded to Knight Sorrow. Shang Luo also indicated that he could continue fighting. That's fine too. Seniors, don't focus on the other side saints. Just grab the other side's peak paragons and high-level paragons and kill them. Our goal this time is to weaken their strength. Knight Sorrow said. Then let's end it quickly. Their 4 Nether Kings will definitely arrive later. Long Xianxing said. Then I'll talk about the battle strategy. Our pinnacle saints will grab their high-level saints and kill them. Our high-level saints will suppress their mid-level saints and kill their commanders. We have to suppress them and deal the most damage. We'll fight the way we can deal the most damage. Knight Sorrow explained his battle strategy. Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, the others nodded. Those who have expended a lot of energy or are injured, retreat directly into the formation. If the enemy King of Hell arrives, our people will retreat directly into the formation. Inform all the formation masters to wait for orders in the formation and bring back our people who have retreated into the formation safely. If the enemy pursues into the formation, they will be killed or trapped by the formation. Knight Sorrow said again, then led everyone into the formation and approached the army of the Netherworld. Search for a basket of erotic books to read the rest of the chapters. Chapter 870. The elites of the 9 regions world and the profound mysteries realm approached the Netherworld army through the formation under the lead of the formation master. Search for Orchid Book Handle. When they reached the edge of the formation, Knight Sorrow directly gave the order to start the battle. Following which, everyone rushed out and started to attack the Netherworld army. Long Xianxing and Xian Wenxiu rushed to the front and directly restrained the 2 high-level saints, suppressing them and attacking them. As for high-level saints, Xie Jun was the only one in the 9 regions world. However, the profound mysteries realm had 2 more. A total of 3 high-level saints attacked the mid-level saints of the Netherworld army. The others didn't have a clear target. They just killed whoever they met. Knight Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear and rushed into the enemy army. When he used his 7-star brilliant moon spear, there was almost no one who could withstand it. Yu Qing was worried about her son and followed behind. Wu Lingfei also followed Knight Sorrow not far away. The battle was very intense. This was an all-out attack for the 9 regions world. It was very difficult for the Netherworld army, which was only a part of the Netherworld army, to withstand it. After a while, corpses were everywhere. One had to know that Long Xianxing and Xian Wenxiu were both Netherworld King-level powerhouses in the Netherworld realm. Sky Underworld Saint and Shang Luo were injured and couldn't fight against high-level saints. However, killing peak venerables was as easy as chopping vegetables. Knight Sorrow didn't know how many times he killed the enemy army. After killing them once, he continued to kill. As long as they weren't from his camp, they were all killed by him. If an ordinary army couldn't withstand the slaughter, the army would scatter. Those who should run would run, and those who should escape would run. However, none of the Netherworld army's Netherworld beasts or people from the Netherworld army ran. They were all fighting to the death. Even if they died, they didn't retreat. They were very valiant. Even if their arms and half of their bodies were cut off, they still fought. Those who have expended a lot of energy or are injured, retreat to the formation, Yishang shouted and continued to slaughter the underworld army. Upon hearing Knight Soro's order, some of the injured and exhausted cultivators from the 9 regions and the profound mysteries realm retreated into the formation. Once they returned to the Great Formation, the formation masters would receive them to a safe place. However, once the Nether Realm's Nether Race and Nether Beasts entered the space of the Great Formation, they would be trapped by the Killing Formation and Illusion Formation. At this time, Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu had also killed their opponents. They began to kill the higher-level Nether Beasts and Nether Race members. Commander, give the order to retreat. The enemy's experts are here. After fighting for another half an hour, Xian Wenxiu called out to Knight Soro. He had sensed the arrival of the Nether King. Retreat. Don't get caught up in the fight. Retreat, shouted Knight Soro. He charged toward the god-slaying squad. The god-slaying squad's cultivation bases were low, and they had been fighting in formation. Now that they wanted to retreat, they wouldn't be able to do so quickly. Everyone was retreating. Long Xiansheng, Xian Wenxiu, Heavenly Underworld Sage, and Shang Luo went all out to block the counterattacks of the Netherworld army and give the others time to retreat. Knight Soro used his reincarnation spear to kill the Nether Realm warriors he encountered. If he encountered any god-slaying squad members, he would send them flying into the Great Formation. Retreat. Long Xiansheng shouted at Knight Soro once more. At this time, Knight Soro sent the last member of the god-slaying squad, Ma Zhuang, flying into the Great Formation. Then he charged toward the Great Formation in a flash. Just at this time, a suppressive law fell on Knight Soro. Break! Knight Soro roared. Purple energy ripples spread out in all directions, breaking through the bindings. Just as Knight Soro broke through the bindings, a beam of energy slammed into Knight Soro, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying. Knight Soro's body drew an arc as he charged toward the Great Formation. At this time, a large hand of energy slammed toward Knight Soro once more. It was a woman wearing golden battle robes and a golden helmet. Her golden helmet had 2 curved horns with a special aura. She was the Netherworld Realm's #1 Nether King, the 9 Nether King. That attack just now had come from her. Another hand of energy came out of the Great Formation, cancelling out the 9 Nether King's attack, allowing Knight Soro to smoothly fall into the Great Formation. Once Knight Soro landed, someone supported Knight Soro. It was Wu Lingfei. While supporting Knight Soro, Wu Lingfei sent her life energy into Knight Soro's body, helping Knight Soro stabilize his injuries. After stabilizing himself, Knight Soro spat out another mouthful of black blood. There were even flames burning within the blood. Array Master, keep an eye on the Great Formation's stability. The rest of you, clean up the Netherworld warriors that entered the Great Formation. Aunt Fei, help me back. Knight Soro said softly. The energy in his body was tumbling. A black energy was tumbling within his body. He was using the void true chi and the power of desolates to suppress it. After returning to the command tent, Knight Soro immediately sat down cross-legged to heal his injuries. As he meditated, the top of Knight Soro's head was filled with black flames with streaks of red. Those flames were forced out of his body. Be looking at you a moment later, Knight Soro's upper robes were burned away. His hair was filled with flowing purple flames, resisting the black and red flames that were forced out of his body. That's the 9 Nether King. It's an explosive flame with a death attribute and an ultimate flame attribute. Right now, those 2 energies are destroying Knight Soro's body, said Long Xiansheng. It's my fault. Captain only received that attack because he saved me. Ma Yizhuang slapped himself. That's enough. Your martial uncle saved you. Did he want to see you like this? Yang Lei glared at Ma Yizhuang. Ma Yizhuang, your martial uncle is fine, said Aoi. Ma Yizhuang nodded and stood to the side. At this time, Jun Xuanji also arrived. Everyone knew that Knight Soro had been heavily injured. What's the situation outside? Xian Wenxiu asked Jun Xuanji. They'd been wildly attacking the Great Formation for a while. Our array masters have reinforced it. There's no problem. We can hold on. How about him? Jun Xuanji asked Night Sorrow. I don't know. Shang Luo shook his head. At this time, Night Sorrow raised his head and coughed up a mouthful of blood. Within the blood was a black and red flame. Clasping his hands together, Night Sorrow stabilized the energy in his body. Then he opened his eyes. Night Sorrow, how are you? Asked Sikong Chuyu as he crouched down and looked at Night Sorrow. That fellow's attack was too fierce. My body managed to withstand the danger of being destroyed, but I still received some internal injuries. I'll have to refine her energy bit by bit. I won't be able to increase my cultivation base during this time. Get me a cup of water first, said Night Sorrow as he nodded to Sikong Chuyu. Then he put on his robes. It's good that you're fine. If something happened to you, no matter how many enemies we killed, it would be a loss, said Heavenly Underworld Sage as he looked at Night Sorrow. Senior Heavenly Underworld Sage is too serious. As long as we can reduce the enemy's strength, my personal losses are nothing, said Night Sorrow as he took a big gulp of tea from Yang Lei. What are you talking about? You're the commander of 2 commanderies. If something happened to you, it would be the same as us being beheaded by the enemy, said Long Xiansheng. Also, please give me some devil fruits. These devil fruits are linked to my royalties and salary. If I don't have enough, the situation will be very serious. For every dollar he tipped or spent on the excavator, there would be a devil fruit that the excavator would not have. I hope everyone can support Shizi. I'll be a guest during the day, and the afternoon update will be posted on my phone. If there's an update, I'll add it at night. It's still the same old rule. If you give me 200 yuan or 2,000 excavators, I'll add an update. You can read the rest of the chapters. Chapter 871. I'm fine. Elder June, please take care of the formation. Make sure the formation is stable. Nothing must happen to it. Search for Orchid Book handle and read new chapters, Night Sorrow said to Jun Xuanji. Commander, don't worry. Just focus on healing. I'll take care of the defensive formation, Jun Xuanji said as he looked at Night Sorrow's pale face. Okay. Also, pass down my orders. No one is allowed to fight for now. We need stability, Night Sorrow said as he looked at the group of people in the tent. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, everyone in the tent cupped their fists, including the saints. Night Sorrow nodded to everyone. Then I'll go heal. The other side's berserk energy can't keep destroying my body. Following this, Night Sorrow returned to the tent and entered the 70th level of the Spacetime Pagoda with Xueshi. Night Sorrow, how can I help you now? Xueshi looked at Night Sorrow with some heartache. I'll first refine and expel the destructive energy from my body, Night Sorrow said as he took out a spirit jade stone stool and took off his clothes to heal. Even if he didn't take off his clothes, they would still be burned by the berserk fire energy. As Night Sorrow suppressed and refined the energy, black flames continuously appeared on Night Sorrow's body. That was the death energy and fire energy that he had forced out of his body. The higher-ups of the 9 regions world and the profound mysteries world were all present in the command tent. Dark Monarch 9 Yin's palm strike landed on the commander. If it landed on anyone else, apart from Peak Saints, they would have died on the spot, Shang Luo said. That's right. When I was carrying out the commander plan in the Nether Realm, I was hit by her energy a few times. Even with the protection of the rules and the protective energy shield, I was still injured. Anyone below the mid-level saint level will definitely die. Sky Underworld Saint nodded. Dark Monarch 9 Yin took the 3 Underworld Kings to inspect the battlefield, and his expression became more and more unsightly. What vicious methods! She killed 3 of our Underworld Kings and destroyed a third of our Nether Realm army. 9th Yin King, we can't break their formation now. We can only passively take a beating. A man wearing black armor and a helmet with a pair of curved horns said. He was the Nether Realm's 7 Fiends Hell King. 7 Evils King, continue to mobilize our underworld army and surround this place. This king will think of a way, 9 Dark King said to 7 Evils King. This king will go now. The 7 Fiends Hades King bowed and left the spatial passageway. 5 Puppet King, go and gather your subordinates as well. The 9th King once again said to a green-robed man with a pair of curved horns on his head. 6 Soul King, you should recuperate first, 9 King said to a man with a pale complexion after giving out instructions. Lu Po understands, said the middle-aged man called Lu Po by the king of 9 The Netherworld realm originally had 9 Netherworld kings, but due to the passage of time, 2 of the kings had died due to problems with their lifespans. The remaining 7 kings, the higher the number, the stronger they were. 9 Dark King was the number 1 king in the Netherworld realm. No matter if it was strength or prestige, she deserved to be number 1. The 7 Netherworld kings of the Netherworld realm respected her and listened to her orders. 6 Soul King was the one who escaped from the encirclement of Long Xiansheng and the others. Other than 9 Dark King, he was the only one who could control the death attribute. After arranging the tasks of the 3 Netherworld kings, the 9th King reorganized the army. At the same time, he sent people back to the Netherworld realm to gather array masters and arrange for people to look for array books. Night Sorrow was on the 70th floor of the Time-Space Treasure Pagoda. He used the energy of the Myriad Tao Tome to suppress it and used the Void Genuine Qi to refine it. He refined the energy that 9 Dark King had injected into his body and expelled it out of his body. Seeing the black smoke and flames constantly emitting from Night Sorrow's body, Xuexi was very shocked. She understood that this was because Night Sorrow had cultivated his body to a higher realm. If it was someone else, this would have been fatal. Night Sorrow spent an entire month recuperating. It took Night Sorrow an entire month to refine the energy that 9 Dark King had left in his body. When Yishan felt that his body was fine, he began to cultivate with Xuexi. Xuexi helped him nourish his body and energy. You're really fine. You scared me to death, Xuexi, who helped Night Sorrow nourish his body, said. This month can't be considered as a total loss. My genuine qi and the energy of the Myriad Tao Tome have become much more solid. I'll just treat it as a consolidation of my cultivation, Night Sorrow said. Don't be rash in the future. If something happens to you, many people will be worried and afraid, Xuexi said to Night Sorrow. I was too nervous at that time and forgot to use the power of rules and the protective barrier to protect my body. I won't do it again, Night Sorrow said. As the level of the opponent increases, you will also have to adapt to the battle with high-level cultivators. The power of rules fuses with energy attacks. Without the power of rules to protect your body, you won't be able to withstand it. Therefore, in the future, you must always use the power of rules to protect your body, Xuexi reminded Night Sorrow. I know. Now, there is a very important problem. My genuine qi entered the sage realm with the power of nothingness. However, if I use the power of nothingness to enter the 7th level with my body refining cultivation, it will be equivalent to reducing my future development space, Night Sorrow said. That is indeed the case. However, you can comprehend the power of nothingness because you have the Heavenly Fate Pearl. It will be very difficult for you to comprehend the power of desolation, which is the law of time. Let alone the Heavenly Fate Pearl, you won't even be able to get an origin stone, Xuexi said after hearing Night Sorrow's words. Even so, I can't destroy my own path just because I am anxious. I also need to think about this matter, Night Sorrow said. This matter was a very difficult choice for Night Sorrow. Entering the Golden Body realm with the Myriad Tao treasured scripture was a leap in strength. However, if he used the power of nothingness to advance, the power of desolation would not be able to increase. It would also be a problem if he suppressed it and did not advance. This matter also directly affected the cultivation of Night Sorrow's soul avatar in the heaven-sealing Great Hall. Seeing that Night Sorrow's soul avatar was irritated, the 9 regions' origin energy appeared. Is there a problem? There is a problem with my original body's cultivation. This also affects the achievement of my avatar. You are the 9 regions' origin energy. I would like to ask, where can I come into contact with the law of the power of desolation? The green-robed Knight Sorrow looked at the 9 regions' origin energy and asked. If it was any other origin law, my original body could solve it at any time. However, after countless years of evolution, my original body condensed a high-level elemental origin, which is Dongxuan's life origin. The main reason is that my original body's evolution direction is the world of life. I can't use other high-level origins. However, the desolate sea is still the place where the law of time is displayed. The 9 regions' origin energy shot a beam of energy into the green-robed Knight Sorrow's body. This is a map. The green-robed Knight Sorrow looked at the 9 regions' origin energy and asked in surprise. That's right. That is the place where the law of desolation is the most concentrated. As for whether you can comprehend it or not, it depends on you. I can't help you. The 9 regions' origin energy left after saying that. You can read the rest of the chapter by searching for a basket of erotic books. Chapter 872. At this time, Knight Sorrow's true body had also obtained a map. It was an island in the desolate sea of the realm of unbounded desolation. He searched for Orchid Book Handle and read new chapters. Good. Since there's an opportunity, I have to seize it, Knight Sorrow said as he waved his arm. What's wrong? Shue, she asked as she looked at Knight Sorrow. Following that, Knight Sorrow told her about the origin of the desolation laws. That's great. You'll have a chance to upgrade your body with the time attribute, Shue, she said happily. She hoped to see Knight Sorrow succeed. After drinking a pot of tea, Knight Sorrow left the space-time pagoda and went to the command tent. You're in good shape. You're fine, Long Xianxing said as he looked at Knight Sorrow. It's done. How's the situation now? Knight Sorrow asked. It's stable. The Nether Realm's understanding of formations is very low. They won't be able to break our formation, Long Xianxing said. How are Saint Shang and Senior Underworld Saint's injuries? Knight Sorrow asked. 2 days ago, Heavenly Underworld Saint came out. He is almost fully recovered, but it will take some time for him to fully recover. The same goes for Shang Saint. There are no major problems. The main thing is that the few Underworld kings who were killed by us managed to inflict some injuries on them. Long Xianxing explained the situation of Heavenly Underworld Saint and Shang Luo. Knight Sorrow nodded. He also understood that it was very difficult to kill a peak saint without suffering any losses. It was already a good thing that both sides weren't injured. After leaving the command tent, Knight Sorrow went to the formation area to take a look. The formation area was guarded by Jun Xuanji and Black Shang. They didn't try to break the formation? Knight Sorrow asked. They tried. Their level of formation masters is very low. It's impossible for them to break our formation. That Underworld King 9 went berserk and attacked for a while. The price we paid was just a few high-grade spirit stones, Jun Xuanji said. Knowing that everything was fine, Knight Sorrow returned to the campsite at the spatial passageway's entrance and checked on the god-slaying team members' cultivation progress. When Knight Sorrow returned to the command tent, many people had already come out of their cultivation areas. Now, everyone was cultivating in the buildings of the Nether Realm. Seeing that Knight Sorrow was fine, everyone was very happy. It could be said that Knight Sorrow was now everyone's backbone. Son, don't be so reckless in the future. That's a pinnacle saint. If you get attacked, you'll die. Yu Qing looked at her son worriedly. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment and said, I'll be more careful in the future. The situation is very stable now, and they can't break in. There's no need for us to fight to the death with them. When the other 2 pinnacle saints have fully recovered, we can use the harassing and robbing tactics. That is, we can rob the sects, cities, and resources of the various forces. Xian Wenxiu said, Commander, that's a good tactic. With our pinnacle saints leading the team, as long as we don't encounter their underworld king, we won't be in any danger. Then let's wait for the two saints to recover. Also, I'll be leaving for a while. If anything happens, crush my messaging crystal. I'll rush back immediately. Also, if there's an accident, we can't defend here. Quickly retreat to the Supreme River space and attack the largest ancient tree 10 miles away from the spatial passageway. Night Sorrow said. Where are you going? Xia Jun asked. She didn't want Night Sorrow to leave now. I have some problems with my cultivation that I need to solve. Night Sorrow explained the reason why he was leaving. Then go. We'll discuss the small matters. We'll inform you if something big happens. Long Xianxing nodded. He knew that it was very important for Night Sorrow to improve his strength. There were some things that Night Sorrow could solve that others couldn't. After leaving the command tent, Night Sorrow returned to his own tent. After communicating with his parents and 3 fiancés, he sent them to the 60th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda. Then, he took a teleportation formation and left the spatial passageway. After a few teleportations, Night Sorrow arrived in the realm of unbounded desolation. He teleported to Eastern Desolation City, which was close to the Desolate Sea. Night Sorrow set up a teleportation formation at the edge of the realm sea. Then, he took a flying ship and flew toward the area on the map in his mind. After flying for a while, Night Sorrow controlled the flying ship to fly higher. Because the corrosion of the power of desolation in the Desolate Sea was too strong, the flying ship was affected. On the 3rd day, Night Sorrow arrived at his destination. After storing the flying ship, Night Sorrow used the energy of the myriad Daos tome to protect himself and landed on a deserted island full of yellow speckled stones. There was no life on the island. Because of the corrosion of the power of desolation, no life could survive. At the center of the deserted island was a pool with a diameter of more than 100 feet. The great pool. This was the Great Desolate Pond. However, it was many times larger than the one Yi Shang had seen on Taishu Yan's Sea Heart Island. Images of the passage of time appeared in the desolate pond. Streaks of energy floated above the desolate pond. It had rich power of desolates and rich power of desolates laws. Yi Shan knew that this was the kind of place he needed. At the center of the great pool, there was a piece of desolate stone that was about 10 feet wide and contained a very rich energy. Night Sorrow set up a teleportation formation so that he could get to his destination as quickly as possible. As long as the messaging crystal shattered, Night Sorrow could immediately return to the spatial passage in the Supreme River space. After setting up the teleportation formation, Night Sorrow didn't put any spirit stones or teleportation crystals. Because of the corrosion of the power of desolation, the energy in the spirit stones and teleportation crystals would quickly dissipate. After looking around, Night Sorrow's body flashed and landed on the desolate stone. He sorted out his emotions and sat down cross-legged. Then, he started to comprehend the power of desolation emitted by the great pool. The power of desolation had the ability to accelerate time. In other words, a few days in the great pool would be less than a day in the outside world. This situation would be fatal to others because they would lose their lifespan. However, it wasn't the case for Night Sorrow. With the power of desolation's body, the power of desolation couldn't take away his life force. Instead, it helped his cultivation. What he needed the most was time. Night Sorrow's body was inside the Spacetime Pagoda. With the protection of Night Sorrow's body, it wouldn't be invaded. This was equivalent to giving Yi Wuyo, Yu Qing, Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi the time acceleration effect. However, it was synchronized with Night Sorrow. It was the same for Xue Shi, who was on the 70th floor. Only when Night Sorrow was on the 70th floor of the Spacetime Pagoda would Little Kong use the power of time to accelerate time. Without Night Sorrow, Xue Shi didn't receive this treatment. When Night Sorrow cultivated his soul power and improved his cultivation of the myriad Dao Tome, he was also comprehending the power of desolation. To comprehend the power of desolation, one needed talent and a deep soul power. Night Sorrow had a foundation in both of these. He had good innate conditions. Time passed quickly. As Night Sorrow's cultivation increased, he gradually gained entry into the power of desolation. Scenes of time flowing appeared on Night Sorrow's body. Search for the basket color book to read the rest of the chapter. Chapter 873. In the Realm Sea, on an island in the central prefecture, Ji Yuhao kicked a maidservant away. Commander of 2 worlds, the higher you climb, the more painful it will be for you to fall. Didn't you declare war on Netherrealm? Then I'll let you die at the hands of Netherrealm people. Search for Lazy Book Bar and read a new chapter. After reaching the 7th level Venerable Realm, Ji Yuhao disguised himself and went out to gather information. He learned that Yi Shang had led the 9-domain world to conquer the Profound Mysteries realm and had become the commander. This made him furious. After thinking about it for a moment, Ji Yuhao made his decision. He was going to screw over Night Sorrow and the people of the 9 realms. Right now, he hated all the people of the 9 realms because the Ji Yu family had no place in the 9 realms world. They were the public enemy of the 9 realms. After making up his mind, Ji Yuhao went to the Tai Ching domain and captured an iron guard who was transporting resources to the Supreme River domain. He cruelly made a human skin mask and mixed into the iron guards of the commander's office. Then, he followed the other iron guards to transport resources. After a few teleportations, he arrived at the entrance of the Nether Realm. After arriving at the campsite of the Nether Realm, Ji Yuhao was very cautious. He suppressed his time attribute aura and didn't dare to leak it. Most of the higher-ups of the 9-domain world were in secluded cultivation. There weren't many people who knew Ji Yuhao. While chatting with the other iron guards, Ji Yuhao learned that the 9-domain world relied on the Great Formation to resist the enemy's attack. He had a plan in his mind. Ji Yuhao was the same as the others. He cultivated normally. However, he paid attention to the formation and knew who set it up. In the following days, Ji Yuhao came in contact with a formation master and humbly communicated with him. At this time, the people of the 9-domain world and the Profound Mysteries realm were united. No one thought about the traitor. A few days later, Ji Yuhao and the formation master entered the formation space to inspect. This was the opportunity Ji Yuhao wanted. When this magic formation master went to report to He Shang, Ji Yuhao, who accompanied him, made his move. He swung his sword towards He Shang's head. He wanted to kill He Shang, then take the formation map to the netherworld. When Ji Yuhao made his move, Jun Xuanji had already noticed it. He immediately showed up beside He Shang and pushed him away with his energy. Then, he wielded his long sword and sent out sword chi towards Ji Yuhao. Jun Xuanji moved fast, but he was still a bit slow. He managed to push He Shang away, but Ji Yuhao's sword power still cut off He Shang's left arm. Ji Yuhao's body flashed across the air as he grabbed He Shang's broken arm and rushed out of the formation. Jun Xuanji and He Shang were watching the netherworld from the edge of the formation. Therefore, Ji Yuhao seized the opportunity. Array diagram. Array diagram. He Shang shouted at Jun Xuanji, ignoring his bleeding arm. When Jun Xuanji chased after Ji Yuhao and cast the 4 extremes combined attack to trap him, Ji Yuhao shouted, "Seniors from the netherworld, save me. I have a formation map." At that moment, 9 Dark King appeared and sent a palm strike towards Jun Xuanji. Jun Xuanji's expression changed, and he retreated into the formation. Then, he pulled the 4 extremes combined attack towards the center of the formation. 9 Dark King waved his arm and shattered the space of the 4 extremes combined attack, then pulled Ji Yuhao to his side. At that moment, Long Xianxing arrived. "What's going on? Hurry up and tell Night Sorrow to come back. Something big has happened. Protector He Shang's storage ring has been taken by a traitor. The formation map is inside." Jun Xuanji's expression was very unsightly. Tai Shu Yan directly crushed Night Sorrow's messaging crystal. This matter was too serious. Trash from the 9 regions world, do you still remember me, Ji Yuhao? Ji Yuhao took off his mask. You must die. Tai Shu Yen shouted. I hate traitors. If you have no value, they won't have to kill you. I will kill you myself. 9 Dark King looked at Ji Yuhao and said. The formation map is in this storage ring, said Ji Yuhao while holding He Shang's severed arm. Let's go back. Long Xianxing said in a low voice and returned to the formation. In the command tent, Tai Shu Yen helped He Shang bandage his severed arm. Grand Elders, this is my responsibility. I didn't think there would be a traitor, and I didn't take precautions. I, Jun Xuanji, am willing to accept the punishment. Jun Xuanji bowed. This matter isn't your fault, and it's not the time to find out who is responsible. Now is the time to solve this crisis, said Xie Jun. If they break the formation, then not only will we lose our advantage, we'll also be in a passive position. So, how to save the situation is the most urgent matter, said Xian Wenxiu. If the formation is broken, then we'll definitely lose our advantage. However, we won't be in a passive position because the commander still has a backup plan. I can't understand that formation, so they won't be able to break it. Jun Xuanji said that Night Sorrow had set up a formation in Supreme River space. Fortunately, the situation isn't too bad. Master He Shang, can they break the formation with your formation map? Xie Jun asked He Shang. They need the cultivation of a formation grandmaster to understand a little of the formation map. With the formation map in their hands, it'll be a hidden danger. However, there won't be any problems for a few days. Let the commander come back and solve it. He Shang's face was pale. I've already informed the commander, said Tai Shu Yen. Night Sorrow, who was cultivating, opened his eyes. He had almost mastered the law of desolates. Now, he just needed to familiarize himself with it. The breaking of the communication crystal made him a little anxious. When he stood up, Night Sorrow's robes turned to dust. Night Sorrow knew that he had been meditating for at least a year and a half. As for how much time had passed in the outside world, he really didn't know. Yi Shang used the Desolate's attribute to protect his body. After putting on his robe, his body flashed and left the Great Desolation Pool. Then he went to the transmission array and activated it. Yi Shang began to teleport. After a series of teleportations, Night Sorrow returned to the entrance of the spatial tunnel and went directly to the command tent. Who did it? Seeing He Shang missing an arm, Night Sorrow's eyes flashed and he looked at Jun Xuanji. Don't glare at me. Although I'm at fault, it wasn't me, said Jun Xuanji. Then, Tai Shu Yen explained the cause and process of the matter. Protector He Shang, I'm sorry. This was caused by me. Ji Yuhao hates me. Night Sorrow bowed to He Shang. Young master, this is not your fault. We are now united and did not suspect the insiders. He Shang helped Night Sorrow up with one hand. Protector He Shang, I, Night Sorrow, swear to get justice for you. Night Sorrow looked at He Shang and said. This subordinate understands. He Shang nodded. Everything else is a pirated version. Marshal Uncle Tai, go and make the arrangements. Other than the commander's residence members and the array masters, everyone else will retreat to the Supreme River space. Let's camp 30 li away from the spatial tunnel. Ji Yuhao wanted to play with me, right? I want to see how he will play with me. Night Sorrow said coldly. Can you turn the situation around? Jun Xuanji looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Isn't that obvious? Night Sorrow glanced at Jun Xuanji. Baidu, Myriad Daos Become Expressions book and read it for free. Chapter 874. Jun Xuanji didn't care about Night Sorrow's reprimand and asked, can you really turn the tables around? He searched for rotten book handle and read new chapters. Of course. I won't make a single mistake that will cost me everything. Now, do as I say, said Night Sorrow. That's good. Otherwise, I'd be a sinner if I ended up in a passive position because of my negligence. Jun Xuanji breathed a sigh of relief. Jun Xuanji was a strong person. He had lost to the Nine Regions world and Night Sorrow, but the Profound Mysteries realm's outcome was still very good. Now, he wanted to prove his worth. He didn't want to ruin the situation because of his negligence. He didn't want Night Sorrow to vent his anger on the Profound Mysteries realm because of this. Tai Shiyan and the others arranged for the two regions' forces to be stationed in the Supreme River space about 15 kilometers away from the spatial channel. Apart from the commander's residence's members and saints, there were only formation masters in the command tent. Protector He Shang, this is all my fault. Night Sorrow looked at He Shang apologetically. Young Tower Master, it's fine. As long as I don't fall, I'll continue to fight, said He Shang. Night Sorrow nodded. He first went to activate the 1000 derivation killing formation. Next, he went to the edge of the Heavenly Cycle formation to take a look before returning to the command tent. Formation Masters, go and monitor the formation. When their forces enter the formation, just return with me, said Night Sorrow. What's the point of informing you? Aren't we still going to retreat? Asked Jun Xuanji. It's very useful. While you were setting up the formation, I wasn't idle either. I also set up a composite formation. As long as you casually insert spirit stones into the formation, the 1000 derivation illusory formation I set up will be fully activated. Who knows who will be the unlucky one, said Night Sorrow. The illusory formations you set up are composite formations. Jun Xuanji looked at Night Sorrow in astonishment. I don't mind telling you that I'm also a formation grandmaster, said Night Sorrow as he brewed tea. The commander-in-chief has returned. Suppressing all sides, I feel at ease, Xie Jun said with a smile. Let them try to break the formation. Whoever comes in will die. I told my people to back out because I don't want any spies from Ji Yu's family to be in there. Besides, even if some spies manage to break in, they won't be able to escape from either side. Night Sorrow said while pouring tea for everyone. Indeed. Originally, when our Profound Mysteries realm lost, I thought that it was due to luck. But now, it seems that it's not the case. Lord Commander, you are the mastermind. No matter how we fight, we will lose, Shang Luo said. Night Sorrow is deeply sorry for the damage I've caused to the Profound Mysteries realm. After this war ends, I will go to the Profound Mysteries royal city to pay my respects to the living beings who died in battle. I will also offer my apologies to all the living beings in the Profound Mysteries realm. Night Sorrow stood up and bowed to Xian Wenxiu and Shang Luo. At this moment, the members of the Profound Mysteries realm cupped their fists towards Night Sorrow in return. There's no need for that. We know that there's no right or wrong in war. We're already grateful that you're treating the Profound Mysteries realm well, Xian Wenxiu said. Protector He Shang, go treat your injuries, said Xie Jun. Everyone felt helpless about He Shang's severed arm. Saints could regrow severed limbs, but sovereigns couldn't. He Shang's severed arm had been taken away, and he had lost the chance to reattach it. Commander, when are you going to break through to the Saint realm? Asked the Flying Tiger Saint. Anytime. I just want to stabilize my foundation. Right now, my main research direction is the cultivation of my body. This time, I went out to find an opportunity for my body to break through, said Night Sorrow. How is it? Asked Long Xiansheng. It's fine. The main thing is that I don't want my true qi and body to advance due to a type of law. Now that I've found an opportunity, I'll try to break through later, said Night Sorrow. You'll be the youngest saint in the history of the Nine Regions world. There hasn't even been a sovereign in his 20s, said Long Xiansheng excitedly. It's just that my luck is a bit better, said Night Sorrow with a smile. Night Sorrow, you've walked step by step. I've seen how much you've sacrificed. I know how hard you've worked. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow. After chatting for a while, everyone went to rest and cultivate. Wu Lingfei and Night Sorrow went to Night Sorrow's tent. Aunt Fei, it's been hard on everyone while I wasn't here. Night Sorrow took out a jug of wine and handed it to Wu Lingfei. It's nothing. You've arranged everything, and we're just following your plan. Even so, this mess still happened. It seems we really can't do without you here. The others can fight, but they're not as good as you when it comes to managing the situation, said Wu Lingfei as she took a sip of wine. Let's stabilize for a few days and see how things go. If it's still like this, we'll give him a heavy blow. I can't let Ji Yuhao have a good time, said Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, you've changed. You've matured, and you're smiling more. This is what I want to see. No matter what happens, you can face it with a smile, said Wu Lingfei. She knew that the Night Sorrow in front of her was no longer the child who had risked his life with her in Eastern Snow Mountain. He was now the commander in charge of 2 regions. After chatting with Wu Lingfei for a while, Night Sorrow brought his parents out of the spacetime pagoda and began to meditate. He continued to analyze and comprehend the laws of desolation. Although he wasn't in the Great Wasteland Pool, he still had some insights. After cultivating for 4 or 5 days, there was still no movement from the Netherworld realm. Night Sorrow planned to add fuel to the fire. After having Tai Shu Yen inform everyone to gather in the command tent, Night Sorrow once more patrolled the formation. Seeing that the Netherworld realm still hadn't begun to break the formation, he returned to the main seat in the tent and sat down. A while ago, I mentioned that the battle of harassment and the battle of resources can still be carried out. Seniors Long Xiansheng and Xian Sheng will each lead a team. I don't want too many people, just 4 or 5 elites. Grandfather, father, you 2 will each lead a team, said Night Sorrow. So it's killing people, setting fires, and then plundering resources. That's it, said Xian Wenxiu as he looked at Night Sorrow. That's it. But I still need to talk about the things you need to pay attention to. This kind of battle requires you to be mobile. In other words, you can't let people surround you. If you want to control the situation well, you need to control the transportation formation well. Night Sorrow laughed and explained in detail how he had fought such battles in the past. Cut off the enemy's call for reinforcements, insert the transportation crystal, and be able to teleport at will. This method is good. Xian Wenxiu nodded. Senior Shang Sheng and Senior Heavenly Underworld Sheng, stay here and pay attention to the situation outside the formation. If the Netherworld King dares to leave, then the 2 of you will lead the other saints to kill. Remember to destroy the transportation formation first, so that the Netherworld King won't be able to come back in time. Night Sorrow then arranged his second plan. Everyone nodded. Yi Shang's plan was well thought out and had no loopholes at all. Then, Night Sorrow asked Tai Shu Yen to allocate resources for everyone. Then, Long Xiansheng and Xian Wenxiu each chose 3 or 4 people, respectively leading Yi Wuyo and Yi Linghuan to leave the spatial passage through the transportation formation. Baidu, 10,000 Dao into Expression Book, to read for free. Chapter 875. Alright, Uncle Master, if you need anything, just crush my messaging crystal. Yi Shan took out a messaging crystal and tossed it to Tai Shu Yen. Search for Orchid Book Handle. What are you going to do now? What's the situation now? Jun Xuanji asked when he saw that Night Sorrow was about to leave again. I want to cultivate. Night Sorrow got up and walked towards his tent. Elder Jun, please understand. When we were fighting against the Profound Mysteries realm, he didn't want to be a commander. He was forced to do so by a group of seniors. He's essentially a cultivation maniac. Otherwise, he would have attacked the Sage realm in his 20s, Tai Shu Yen said. This is an era that belongs to people like him. If it was peacetime, he might be an expert of a generation, Jun Xuanji said. After entering the tent, Night Sorrow saw Yu Qing. Mother, we had no choice but to arrange a mission for father. Only father and grandfather are following us. Even if something happens, a small team will be able to come back alive, Night Sorrow explained to his mother. Mother understands. Mother wants to tell you that she plans to go back to the city in the sky to see your sister, Yu Qing said. That's what you should do. Mother, bring my sister and old man Gu to Night Moon Dynasty's camp and let my sister and great aunt stay together. Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow had been thinking about this matter. He didn't want something like old man Gu to happen again. All right, Mother will leave first. Send me through the formation, Yu Qing said to Night Sorrow. Yes, Night Sorrow nodded, then sent Yu Qing out of the 1,000 derivation killing formation and out of the portal of the Medicine Valley. Only then did he return to the portal. Night Sorrow found Tai Shu Yen and ordered the secret agents of the Commander-in-Chief's mansion to move out. They had to find out where Yu Qing's family was hiding. Lord K has already arranged for people from Tianji Tower to investigate this matter. The results will be out soon. Because our Tianjin Tower has been developing for countless years, our intelligence system is very developed. We have people in Ji Yu's family. It's just that the news hasn't spread yet, said Taishiyan. This Ji Yu family is too despicable, we have to uproot them, said Night Sorrow. He didn't want Ji Yu family to cause any more trouble. Taishu Yen nodded. She also hated Ji Yu's family very much. They were too shameless and would do anything, even betraying the 9 regions. What else could they not do? After exchanging a few words with Taishu Yen and Jun Xuanji, Night Sorrow returned to his tent. After entering the tent, Night Sorrow flashed into the space-time pagoda and went to the 60th floor. Xueshi was also on the 60th floor, together with Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi. The 4 of them were getting along very well. Has the matter been taken care of? Sikong Chuyu asked as he made tea. It has been taken care of. Night Sorrow nodded. He hadn't closed off his soul power, so Xueshi knew what was going on outside. At the same time, she also told Sikong Chuyu and the other 2. Ji Yuhao, that bastard, has been caught. It wouldn't be too much to cut him into pieces, Aoi said hatefully. Chuyu, you should rejoice. Rejoice that our 13 has appeared. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a man, Yang Lei said. 9th senior sister, let's not talk about that disgusting thing. He can't do anything in front of Night Sorrow, Sikong Chuyu said. After that, Night Sorrow told the girls that he planned to enter seclusion to break through to the sage stage. Is it dangerous? Sikong Chuyu looked at Xueshi and asked. It's not dangerous. Night Sorrow's soul power has condensed into a divine bead, and he has also mastered the power of law. Advancing is not a problem, Xueshi said. But it will take some time, Night Sorrow said. Knowing that there was no danger, Sikong Chuyu and the other 2 were relieved. What they cared about was Night Sorrow's safety. Night Sorrow then entered the 70th floor of the space-time pagoda and drank a few mouthfuls of wine. Then, he sat down cross-legged and began cultivating. If a sage wanted to enter the sage stage, he had to fuse the power of law, soul power, and true energy. Then, he had to compress them into a Dan bead, filling the Dan bead with the power of law. That way, his true energy could erupt at any time with the might of the power of law. Night Sorrow slowly fused his soul power, power of law, and true energy, allowing this special energy to flow through his veins. After stabilizing himself, Night Sorrow started to compress the liquid true qi into the elixir bead. This was a slow process. It was very difficult to compress the liquid true energy into the Dan bead. Yi Shang was not in a hurry. This was a milestone in the process of cultivation. Once he crossed it, his path would be smooth, and he would become a saint that everyone had to respect. Time passed little by little. The true energy in Night Sorrow's dantian was getting less and less. The size of the Dan bead was getting bigger and bigger. 2 days, 3 days. On the 4th day, there were only 2 faint wisps of true energy left in Night Sorrow's dantian. The purple Dan bead, which was twice as big as before, was slowly rotating in his dantian. After controlling the last 2 wisps of true energy to enter the Dan bead, Night Sorrow's Dan bead shook and began to rotate rapidly. Then, true energy with threads and stripes emerged from the Dan bead. This was true energy with the power of law. Sage, the true energy contained the power of law. This was the sign of a sage. At this time, Night Sorrow was already a 7th-level cultivator, a sage. It's a success. Night Sorrow has entered the sage stage, Xueshi, who was connected to Night Sorrow's soul, excitedly told Sikong Chuyu and the other 2 girls. This is a big celebration. A sage. A few years ago, our Medicine Valley was still having a headache over the emergence of a sage. Now, a sage has appeared in front of us. Yang Lei was very excited. Yes, the world is changing. There are some things that we can't even dream of in the past. Aoi also had a deep feeling. As Night Sorrow entered the sage stage, the clone in the Heaven Sealing Hall also reached this level. The 9 regions' origin shield shone brightly and was much more powerful than before. There were also changes in the Medicine Valley. The 8-dragon cauldron above Danding Cliff spun rapidly. The multicolored light rippled in all directions. Then, there was the sound of bells and drums. The melodious sound echoed in the Medicine Valley. This made everyone in the Medicine Valley come to the foot of Danding Cliff. They didn't understand why such a situation would happen. At this time, Danding Cliff was full of multicolored light. The melodious drum sounded 12 times before it stopped. The multicolored light fell on the statue of Night Sorrow, which was 3,000 meters away from Danding Cliff. Such a phenomenon of heaven and earth made everyone confused. They didn't know what was going on. Something big happened in the Medicine Valley. No matter how big it was, the bells and drums only sounded 9 times at the same time. Everyone also knew that the 8-dragon cauldron, as a treasure with a weapon spirit, would not act recklessly or make a long sound randomly. Yu Yangyu stood on the viewing peak opposite Danding Cliff and bowed to the 8-dragon cauldron. Senior, can you tell me what happened? There's no harm in telling you. My holy treasure is Night Sorrow. Congratulations on becoming a sage, Night Sorrow. Congratulations. The 8-dragon cauldron's voice sounded on Danding Cliff. In the past 2 days, my work and rest schedule have been really unstable. Yesterday, I was busy all day and was half-dead tired. When I came back to sleep, I got up at 11:00 in the middle of the night to write. I wrote until 6 o'clock in the morning and had to sleep until the afternoon. I got up at 3:00 in the afternoon to revise and update my manuscript. I'm also a talent. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the brothers and sisters who unlocked the seal yesterday. Baidu the Book of Myriad Tao into expressions, and read it for free. Chapter 876. Congratulations to Night Sorrow for becoming a saint. When the 8-dragon cauldron's voice came out, the tens of thousands of people around Pill Tripod Cliff suddenly quieted down. This news was too shocking, so everyone's emotions stopped. They searched for Lazy Book Bar and read new chapters. After calming down, Yu Yangyu asked again, Senior, are you saying that Night Sorrow, the Deputy Valley Master of the Medicine Valley, has broken through the Venerable Realm and entered the Saint Realm and become a saint? Yes, he has just broken through and become a saint. Well, let's disperse. The 8-dragon cauldron withdrew the light, and Pill Tripod Cliff returned to normal. The disciples of the Medicine Valley had dispersed, but the sensation it caused was still there. Those who had a good relationship with each other were discussing this matter together. Some disciples with family forces also went to inform their families. A powerful venerable could change the structure and status of the major sects in the Eastern Profound Domain, let alone a saint. The news quickly spread. In the Pill Tripod Hall, the high-level members of the Medicine Valley were all present. A saint, a 7th-level saint. Our Medicine Valley has a 7th-level saint. The first elder laughed. That's right. Now, who can look down on our Medicine Valley? Who dares to annex our Medicine Valley? Hua Yunpeng was also very excited. How long has it been since Deputy Valley Master Night Sorrow entered the sect? 7 or 8 years? In less than 10 years, he has entered the 7th-level saint from no cultivation. This is a miracle in the history of cultivation, and a miracle in our Medicine Valley, Yi Xiling said. "Huh, so handsome," Gong Xian said happily. As the commander-in-chief of the commander-in-chief of the two commander-in-chief's manners, he has prestige and benevolence. After entering the Saint Realm, Knight Sorrow's personal strength has also reached the peak. "Our Medicine Valley really has to thank our ancestors," Yu Yangyu said. "Valley Master, you have recruited a good disciple," the first elder looked at Yu Yangyu and said. At that time, he was still young and didn't show his talent. If they knew his achievements today, who could and who would dare to accept him as a disciple? "I'm ashamed to say this," Yu Yangyu said with a bitter smile. "Now that the 9 regions world and the profound world are fighting in the Supreme Plane and Nether Realm, our Medicine Valley is not even qualified to contribute. And Knight Sorrow is the commander-in-chief." "You can't say that. Didn't Elder Yang Lei and Elder Qing Ji go with them? Guan Yi and Qin Zhen are there too. Mushizhuang and the other 2 are doing well in the deicide squad. The future of the Medicine Valley belongs to the young people," Yan Beiji said. At this moment, tribulation clouds appeared at the entrance of the Netherworld realm, causing everyone to feel oppressed. Everyone in the Nether realm left the camp. Tribulation clouds. "Someone has become a saint," Nine-een Hades said as he looked at the tribulation clouds in the sky. In the 9 regions world's camp, everyone looked at the tribulation clouds in the sky. In the 9 regions world's camp, Tai Shu Yen looked at Heavenly Underworld Saint and asked, "Could it be that the commander-in-chief has become a saint? What is he doing in the Pagoda of Time?" Heavenly Underworld Saint said, "The tribulation lightning cannot be avoided. It will fall soon and attack Knight Sorrow's holy treasure as well." Little Kong contacted Knight Sorrow and told him about the tribulation lightning that had appeared in Knight Sorrow's tribulation lightning. Knight Sorrow, who had stabilized his cultivation, came out of the Pagoda of Time and Space. Then, he sent everyone out of the Pagoda of Time and Space. He could not let the tribulation lightning destroy the formation. After Knight Sorrow passed through the spatial tunnel, the tribulation clouds disappeared from the nether world. The tribulation clouds appeared directly in the Supreme River space. Heavenly Underworld Saint and the others followed behind Knight Sorrow and crossed the array formation. Knight Sorrow's tribulation was such a big matter, they all wanted to see it. In any case, with the array formation's defense, the people of Nether Realm couldn't break in. After Knight Sorrow crossed the 1000 amplification killing array, the tribulation clouds pressed down very low. The Heavenly Underworld Saint and the others did not follow, they all watched from afar. After steadying himself, Knight Sorrow pulled out his right hand and grabbed the reincarnation spear. If one had heaven-defying achievements, they would have to accept the test of the Heavenly Tao. This was not the Heavenly Tao of the 9 domains world, nor was it the Heavenly Tao of the Supreme River dimension. This was the Heavenly Tao of the greater 1000 worlds. Just as Knight Sorrow was ready, the tribulation clouds rolled and thunder boomed. A purplish-black lightning bolt, as thick as a human head, struck towards Knight Sorrow. The lightning bolt was filled with electric snakes, it was the law of lightning. Knight Sorrow's body shook and a crescent blade shot out from his back. A spatial crack appeared in the path of the lightning bolt. The lightning bolt directly passed through the spatial storm in the spatial crack and continued to fall. One spatial crack didn't have much of an effect, so Knight Sorrow continued to cast spatial cracks, creating 3 spatial cracks in a row. These 3 spatial cracks consumed half of the purplish-black lightning bolt's power. Then, Knight Sorrow's soul power, along with the law of lightning, enveloped the direction where the lightning bolt was falling. At a speed visible to the naked eye, this tyrannical lightning bolt was slowly dissipated. When it reached Knight Sorrow, it disappeared. Powerful. He destroyed the first lightning bolt without using his true qi. Shang Luo said in surprise. "I wonder how many lightning bolts there are." Wu Lingfei was a little worried. She knew that when Knight Sorrow entered the sovereign realm, he had to face 3 lightning bolts. "Don't worry. I believe that he can safely pass through it," Heavenly Underworld Saint said. At this moment, the second lightning bolt fell. Knight Sorrow used spatial cracks again, but only twice. He could now use spatial cracks 6 to 7 times, but sometimes he still had to hold back. This time, Night Sorrow swung the space-time pagoda and smashed it against the lightning bolt. With a loud explosion, the lightning bolt was offset. The space-time pagoda spun and fell into Night Sorrow's hand. Looking at the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow was shocked. After entering the Saint Realm, he could completely control the space-time pagoda. Its power was much stronger than before. He passed through 2 lightning bolts just like that. Powerful. I have to admire him. Jun Xuanji said. After Night Sorrow survived the second bolt of tribulation lightning, the third bolt of tribulation lightning descended. At this moment, Night Sorrow's body flashed and soared into the sky. He began to attack the lightning bolt with his spear. At this moment, Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear was filled with the power of the Void Law. As Night Sorrow attacked quickly, the third lightning bolt went from thick to thin to nothing. After landing on the ground, Night Sorrow continued to look at the sky. He didn't know how many lightning bolts there were, but he wasn't afraid. Following this, the fourth lightning bolt fell. At this moment, Night Sorrow did something that shocked everyone. He stabbed his reincarnation spear to the side and raised his hands. He punched the fourth lightning bolt. Every punch contained the image of the passage of time. Night Sorrow punched more than 20 times consecutively. As he punched, he retreated 30 steps. After 30 punches, Night Sorrow dispersed the fourth lightning bolt. After repelling the fourth lightning bolt, Night Sorrow returned to his original position and continued to look at the sky. At this moment, the tribulation clouds had no intention of dispersing. They were still rolling and brewing. What's going on? 4 lightning bolts, and the tribulation clouds haven't dispersed yet? They're still going to attack, Xia Lanjun said in surprise. This also shows how heaven-defying and powerful the commander is, Shang Luo said. Please give me a tip. The ranking list is almost gone. Please give me essential oil. Please give me an excavator. I'm full of energy after waking up today. Search the basket to read the rest of the chapters. You're tuning into the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.